p.m. on a Friday morning. And we about to get it boss for the next hour or two. Depends how long I'm gonna be standing up this evening with you, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for my man Wolfman Puck on the wall over there. Wolfman Puck. I fucks you. 40 Wolves, give it up. It's a very informative show. If you watch the show and you don't learn something, I'm sorry. If you did, congratulations. You coming to the bright side and the right side at the same damn time. Give it up. All right. Let's stop. Now we're knocking it off. All right, now getting back to this. As usual, we got a couple of things lined up for you to check out. Take from it what works for you, and the rest, let it fly. In other words, if it don't fly, let it. If it don't apply, just let it fly. And with that being said, now that you know that your boy Dabrand knows, I'm gonna let you get at it. Let's go. Yeah. Y'all already know. Check it out. Yeah, shorty dip low. Came through fast, so I slipped slow. Got that shorty out getting in trouble. Don't worry, mommy, I'm here on the double. Shorty moving so fast. Got an old motherfucker digging in the stash. Got the old motherfucker putting on the mask. Got a nigga feeling low class. Come on, shorty, you know if you follow me. Come on, let's go. I'm gonna follow yours too. Let's get it, cause if you follow me, yes, then I'm gonna follow you too. And we gone. I don't know if you ever heard this doozy right here. Let's give it up for True Life. We have found them.
These people, this is massive news, everybody. We cut it off at the root. This is how we get back our country to we the people, is we prosecute the funders of the chaos. These protests aren't real. What's happening across America isn't real with these judges that are paid for, these district attorneys that are paid for. None of it is real. Kash Patel, again, has confirmed we found them. And again, big breaking news today, this morning, Prince Andrew has been the first official person to be arrested on his 66th birthday. Not a good present, but Prince Andrew has been arrested this is the brother of King Charles, has been handcuffed by the Thames Valley Police at the Royal Sandringham estate for his involvement with the Epstein files. This is big, everybody. First official arrest. It's kind of stupid that, again, it happened in another country, not in the country where we actually had the person and we had the files. But regardless, people are getting held accountable. A lot of people are saying that Bill Clinton is very nervous right now that Prince Andrew officially has been arrested for his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, we are gonna get them, guys. I'm telling you, the stuff that I have today, we're gonna win the midterms. I feel really good about this because, again, too, Trump is a genius. He knows he got screwed over in his first term. Now he's playing 4D chess to win America back. We have the receipts for you today of leaked audio caught by the Democrats that, yes, they know illegals are voting and that they know it may be a small number, but it is not something that they want to fight against. But they have admitted that, yes, illegal aliens are voting in the U.S. elections. We're going to show you. You're going to hear it for yourself in just a moment from Democrat Representative Becca Balint, who admits illegals are voting in the United States elections. We also have caught, this is some of the biggest breaking news of fraud. Again, it's like I'm doing this every single day, guys, but when it gets bigger, it gets better. We're going to expose it all. Two executives have been sentenced to 20 years in prison for $233 million in Obamacare fraud scheme. Two executives, Corey Lloyd, Stephen Strong, who profited from scheming the taxpayer off and using this to buy and purchase luxury vehicles, an 80-foot yacht, an oceanfront home in the Florida Keys, have been sentenced to 20 years in prison for stealing $250 million. There you go. And guess they did it through Obamacare. What's surprising about that? The Democrat systems always are wrought with fraud. Right now, we have it again where more news, again, guys, because it's all about transparency and it's all about you knowing the facts. Senator Bernie Moreno exposes that so much money is stolen each year from the United States taxpayer that it amounts to $4,000 per person in America per year. This is over $1 trillion that's stolen from the taxpayer. This is talking about everybody's, because sometimes they talk about taxpayers, people that are working. No, this is from every child, every baby, every person, senior, retired. $4,000 stolen from each American every single year. And they said if we could theoretically abolish the income tax for a lot of people if we would just root out the fraud, waste, and abuse. And the White House has just confirmed that Democrats, again, are withholding paychecks from FEMA, U.S. Coast Guard, TSA workers. Big news for you today, guys. Again, confirmed by Kash Patel. We know and have found multiple funders of the Antifa, the chaos that has transpired. We got our first arrest over the Epstein files. Big. I got all the receipts for you today, guys. If you love it, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, to all of our viewers and subscribers. We truly could not do it without you. We are here to serve you. If you're not a part of the family yet, though, hit that subscribe button, join our family so we can take care of you every day with the breaking news. And thank you to everybody that supports and you're giving to our channel. Remember, when you give on this channel, on the 22nd of every single month, in just a couple of days, we donate live on stream to a local charity children's home, live on stream, so you can see me give them the money, and you see the receipt. So it's fully real, guys. And this is what I love, is because, again, your donations and giving is not only helping us grow, it's helping to give back to make this world a better place. And if you appreciate what we're doing, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, guys, do it for the kids. The more views we get, the bigger our channel grows, the more we can help out the innocent and those that need help the most. Thank you so much for your support. And do not forget, everybody, our partner chapter. If you are on Medicare right now, please reach out to them. They can actually change your coverage right now to get you the best plan. There's 24,000 plans out there, everybody. I've been getting testimonials left and right, people saving $2,000 plus a year, $3,000 plus a year by using this free service, calling Chapter. The number is 667-895-3015. The number's in the bottom of the screen as well as in the description. Go get your blessing. Don't miss out, because I'm telling you, this is a real deal, and the testimonials are real. People that have been blessed, throw it in the chat. Let everybody know so that they can go get help too. And again, give some love to those that have given today already. Show Richard some love in their chat. Our boy PDX67, Donald Little, Thomas Brewer, OG of the fam. Let's go. Show Thomas some love in the chat. Jitso G for the 5 gifted memberships. Show Jitso some love in the chat. The Memphis Conservative, Google user bringing the popcorn already. Martin Gonzalez, let's go. Show him some love in the chat. This is big news today, guys, because again, when we finally get to the root, when we finally expose the funders of who's funding the Antifa, the chaos, the protest, that's whenever we get back our country. Check this out.
And also on another related topic, Antifa. You know, I covered earlier in my show today and in yesterday's show how the prior FBI director and the prior President Biden and even Obama had played down the Antifa threat. It's an idea. You and I know that it's not an idea when actual action follows the idea. There was an action product that resulted from said ideas. Also, with the Prairie Land investigation and others, there's been actual action to take down and dismantle this entire ring of people.
Right there, buddy.
You're right. We set out to actually activate intelligence-based operations. This includes Antifa. And Dan, you know this. How many people were arrested related to Prairie Land? We're over 24 federal arrests. We're in the middle of federal trial in 5 of those defendants this week again in Texas. 19 people have been convicted for acts of violence related to Antifa. It's in the indictment. You don't got to believe me or you. Everybody can go read the public indictment. And it didn't just happen there. It happened in Cop City in Georgia, where we had to go rearrest everybody because the state authorities couldn't get their act together to produce the enough information to take that to trial, so we did. And it's not a creation or manufacturing of information. It exists. It's just a willingness that you and I and this building's new leadership took to say, we're going to look at the facts that exist. We're not going to try to make up facts that don't so we can serve a political narrative. And wait till you, and I know you know this, but wait till you see what's coming in the next month or two on the funding streams related to this. You and I had launched a serious investigation. We had said these organizations don't operate alone, don't operate in silence. They operate with a heavy stream of funding, and we started looking into it, and guess what, Dan? We found them.
Boom, baby. Right there. You just heard them, everybody. We found them. And what I love is that we are finding all the corruption, everybody. We're exposing it all, left and right. People are stealing money left and right. And it's all through the illegals. I just wanted to show you this because, again, too, this is the type of stuff that now that you have people that are having eyes on it, the funders, where's the money going? Things don't look right. Just an example of funding. New York City, latest budget proposal is $127 billion. Their population is 8.5 million. The state of Florida, the entire state of Florida, has 23 million people and has $10 billion less in their entire budget proposal, $10 billion less. Like, this stuff is starting to spark concern. Everything that we're showing you on here, guys, where the money is going, how come people are continuously being caught left and right? Look at this. 2 executives have been sentenced to 20 years in prison for $233 million in Obamacare fraud scheme. You don't think this has been paid for? You don't think these people have been putting and lining the pockets of people to get more and more of this money, and finally with a justice system that would actually prosecute them? I love it, guys. Hit the thumbs up, like button if you love it too, because I'm telling you, we are here for it today. We got people that are being arrested for the Epstein, which we're going to get to in a minute. Finally got that first arrest, but you just heard it. We finally got the funders. I'm going to pull it back for just a second so you can hear them say it again, guys. Listen to this.
Don't operate in silence. They operate with a heavy stream of funding, and we started looking into it, and guess what, Dan? We found them.
Boom, baby.
Director, your thoughts on this? I covered earlier in the show that there's a reason a lot of these politicized, weaponized bureaucrats try to avoid talking about Antifa as an organized group of threat actors. What they wanted to do is they wanted to have all the benefits of organizing: money, publicity, the ability to use social media to tell people to show up and throw rocks and bricks. They wanted to have all of that. but they didn't want to face the legal penalties. You know, being an attorney and now being on the FBI side, the investigative side, that the government forbids that type of criminal organization through RICO statutes, VICAR, and other things. So they want it one way. They want to organize and use it. But then when it comes to saying, well, they're organizing it for this purpose, they say, oh, no, that's not an organization. It's just an idea.
Wow.
Now, listen, they are retreating and backtracking through a wall that they used to be able to break through under prior administrations because no one held them accountable. And now, after the first year that we reestablish how this place, how this building, how this lead premier law enforcement agency actually operates and goes after not just threat actors overseas and those who are willing to do harm to American lives, but those who cause violence here in America and use the guise of politics to delete that violence. We're not going to tolerate that. And these groups like Antifa and anyone else involved in these riots across the country and involved in paying for them in any way, shape, or form, this FBI, thanks to what we stood up over the last year, has made significant headway under the NSPM 7 process in looking at those who funded these streams and are starting to arrest people who used their funds to incite violence in the guise of political peaceful protest.
Ooh,
Director, one of the things you did.
Hey, guys, you gotta love it, everybody. We're bringing the receipts today. The funders have been found. They're going to be arrested. Some are already being arrested. Some are, and more are going to be prosecuted. We are catching them left and right. Why? Because the quiet part is being said out loud, everybody. When they're in power, they can spend unfettered and get money like crazy from you and me, the taxpayer. But whenever we hold these people accountable, this is where, again, this stuff that you're about to hear, I'm showing you this and I'm pulling these clips in because, again, you don't hear this on mainstream media. But this is Democratic representatives who are 100% telling you that, yes, illegals are voting. We don't care. It doesn't matter. Just deal with it. Right here, Democratic Representative Becca Balint admitting illegals vote in our elections.
But the whole premise of the SAVE Act is to prevent folks from voting illegally, people who are not citizens, but we know that it's just a minuscule number of people. But the whole premise of the SAVE Act is to prevent folks from voting illegally, people who are not citizens, but we know that it's just a minuscule number of people.
Right there, everybody. So again, the reason that they try to push forth and they don't want to vote on the SAVE Act is because it's about the money. They get the payoffs. So again, what you're about to hear next is all about the funding. It's all about we're catching them. We're going to prosecute them. I believe that this is about to happen because, again, guys, there's too much evidence and we're exposing them left and right. Check this out.
Early on is to establish, what they call in business school, like BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, right? You put these 4 principles up on the home screen for everybody's computer every day. They had this National Dog Day stuff going up, which was nice and cute, but that's, it's the FBI. It's go get bad guys. One of them's crush violent crime. The other on the national security front, protect the homeland. So on the crush violent crime front, when we got in there was a heavy focus on a lot of things. The FBI has a lot of responsibilities. But you had said early on, listen, if the Americans don't feel safe in their neighborhoods, I don't give a damn where you live, Chicago, Tuscaloosa, doesn't matter to us, then we're failing at our job. Like, that is national security, the ability to walk out of your house and go to a bus stop without your kid getting mugged or stabbed or having some drug slinger. And we reprioritized. That led to, under your leadership over there, with President Trump at the top and the AG's support, a historic drop in violent crime, not just the lowest levels we've seen in modern American history, but historic percentage drops too. It's really simple. You go and get bad guys off the street. I mean, you and I both agreed on this. Listen, I think you and I did a pretty good job. It really isn't hard when you focus them on the bad guys.
Well, it's not hard, Dan, as you know, as an 1811 and a former police officer, it's not hard to do the job you signed up for if you're loud. to do the job he signed up for. And President Trump and this administration backs law enforcement and gave us the resources at this FBI and gave us the autonomy in you and I in running this building to remove the red tape, to remove the unnecessary approvals, and to get 1,000 extra agents. That's what we did, Dan. We put 1,000 agents into the field from Washington, D.C. We permanently removed them from the National Capital Region and sent them across to every single field office. And what did that do? It allowed people to hit the streets and investigate crimes, and it led to this. And I know you've seen this, but this is 1 year in the making of true historic reductions in crime. And you're talking about a 20% reduction in murder rate. You're talking about a 32% increase in fentanyl seizures, enough to kill 150 million Americans. Dan, you're talking about 4 top 10 arrests in 1 year, but as soon as you left, I had to add 2 more. So now we're up to 6. I couldn't let it stand at 4. So in 1 calendar year, we arrested 6 of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in the world.
You know what I'm talking about.
Do you hear this, everybody? Kash Patel arrested 6 of the top 10 most wanted people in the world. 6 of them in 1 calendar year. And again, the rest have happened, guys, right here on the screen. Former Prince Andrew has been arrested by the UK police over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. And guys, I'm telling you, Nancy Mace, this girl is on it. Look what she just posted. This is Representative Nancy Mace, who is leading the charge on the arrest, on the corruption. Guys, I don't care if it's stealing from the taxpayer. I don't care if it's these elitists. I just want the bad people locked up. I want the good people to stop being screwed over by these elitists. Nancy Mace says Andrews arrested. Mr. Gates, your relationship with Epstein is well documented. Care to comment? Boom, guys. I'm telling you, stuff is coming. This is big stuff. You don't go out and say this unless you have backing, unless you know things. This is some big words, and I want to bring to you because I want you to hear from her herself over what's coming next, because they're not slowing down, and I love it. If you love it, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, this is some beautiful things that are about to transpire, stuff that you're about to see. Again, a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes you normally don't see on mainstream media, but we got you. 1 second, let me make sure. Okay, I'm pulling this over for you right now, guys. Apologize about that. Check this out.
You have been one of the leaders pushing for transparency around the Epstein files. Do you think that the files that are not in the possession of the Department of Justice, but are in the possession of the intel community, should those be released? And is there any legislative effort underway to do that?
I sent a letter to one particular 3-letter agency, the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, yesterday regarding documents I believe they have in their possession. I want a copy of every single passport under every single pseudonym that he had. I do believe that Epstein was an intel agent, maybe more than one, for more than one country. And I believe that the CIA is in possession of documents that will tell us and give us more answers to the operations, not just the sex trafficking, because I believe this goes into arms dealing overseas and other nefarious activities and hiding money for rich and powerful people. I think there's a lot more to the Epstein operation than meets the eye. And that's why, and I think some government officials are involved, that's why it's being swept under the rug and hidden.
You have looked at a lot of these documents.
She literally said there's government officials involved, and that's why they're trying to sweep it under the rug. Again, the quiet part's being said out loud, people. We are just blowing this stuff up. A lot of patriots out there, thank you so much. When you share these videos on X and Facebook, people need to know. People are watching, everybody. This is beautiful because the more that people know, the more that we can hold accountable, and we the people get back our country.
A lot of these redactions, do you have any sense who he was working for?
Yeah, I mean, I think Israel's on the table, Mossad. I think the CIA. Some folks have said Russian, but I think it'd be very hard. I haven't seen that link yet, but I think it'd be very easy to map it to the CIA and to Israel as well. I don't think he was. I don't think he committed suicide. I think he was murdered as well for the information and intel that he has. And somebody's covering this up. I mean, this was going back over 20 years. This goes back 4 presidential administrations, and the American people need to know why and who's covering up, and those that are covering up, they need to go to jail too.
I'm telling you, everybody, this stuff right here that's coming out, like, all right, so what you're about to see next, this is the type of things that is breaking people's hearts. And I'm showing you this, and it breaks my heart too, guys, because again, this is real people. But this is what happens when you get people at the top that don't care about people, that only care about their money. And that when it comes to whether it's the Epstein or whether it comes to your taxpayer dollars, right here in this video, what you're about to see is that socialism, the communists that's trying to take over, the people that think that they're better than everybody right now, and this is the reason I say this, because this state has the largest electoral votes in the United States, so it matters. It gets the largest amount of federal tax funds in the United States, and that matters. Los Angeles Unified School District holds a meeting to cut 657 cafeteria workers, special ed aides, and custodians due to a budget deficit. Why? Because we stopped the fund. So I want you to hear this really big, guys. So instead of rooting out the fraud, waste, and abuse, instead of being held accountable, instead of saying, okay, we got to stop paying for illegals, they're hurting Americans. Right here, the superintendent of Los Angeles makes $440,000 a year. The deputy makes $300,000 to $400,000 a year. The chief financial officer makes $300,000 plus a year. But listen to them and look at the reactions of normal Americans that are being screwed over because these people couldn't balance a budget. They gave money to the illegals. They tried to win their votes by having non-citizens vote, and they're getting paid multi-six figures, and the average American is again getting screwed over. I show you this because people need to see that we've got a clean house in America. Listen to this.
Sooner than we were, and we're in a position where they move forward with reductions in force, substantial reductions in force last year. Right now, because all districts are subject to the same statutory deadlines for March 15th, notice sooner than we were, and we're... You
see their faces? They're talking about cutting 6. These are the people that are, their jobs are about to be cut. Can't believe it. You got people making this much money right here, but they're going to cut cafeteria workers, special ed aides, custodians, and look how much money, hundreds and just crazy amounts of money. But they ain't got enough money for Americans, but they got enough money to pay for the healthcare, the housing. They give these illegals loans and things like that. And what you're about to see next goes back to, again, what they're ultimately trying to do. We have polling to show you how much these liberals are literally fantasizing over putting illegals first over Americans. Check this out.
Barris, you've actually got analysis. You're saying Harry's really undercounting here on the socialists, and really they call them socialists. They're not socialists. These are Marxists. That's just a branding to make people feel, oh, we just want to have more control of the electric power grid, or we just want to have more, some say-so and regulation. That's not what this is all, sir.
Yeah, Steve, thanks for having me on. He's grossly undercounting it. I'm telling you, we are the first pollster to ask Democrats whether or not they identified with traditional liberalism, democratic socialism, even just socialism. It hasn't been 1 1/3 since Joe Biden was fighting off Bernie Sanders in the 2020 Democratic primary. It has been growing steadily since then. We poll it every single month now and have for almost a year. And it hasn't, at this point, which if people want to see, we can put it up on the screen, but Democratic socialism comes in over 50% of the Democratic identification every single month. And then we all ask about socialism. So when you combine them together, 6 in 10 Democrats identify with some form of socialism. And the reason why I wanted to share this, or I even shared the graphic with you, is to get people to understand what if you stay home in November, what you're electing. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's what I'm trying to convey here. Because you're right. This is a branding gimmick. You know, Bernie himself, they have long done this. I mean, you know, pointed to the European countries and their little experiments, which, by the way, have only worked because we fund and subsidize them. But that's a branding gimmick. These are far, far left-wing people. And they have no—
So again, 6 in 10 Democrats now identify with some form of socialism. This is what we get. This is the charge from the polls. This is the receipts. This is what you get if you don't turn out for the midterms. If people don't see what's going on. You want to see another receipt? Because you know I love to bring my receipts, everybody. Right here, I need to get a machine, like they have at the convenience store or something, and I want it to print out the truth, because that's the receipts that we bring. Racial equity and diversity roles that Mamdani has already included in his whole thing in New York. And you think this won't touch other states? You don't think other states won't try to copy? $5.6 million for the Office of Racial Equity. $4.6 million for the Commission of Racial Equity. There you go, $10 million right there. $835,000 for Commission of Gender Equity. $260,000 for the Department of Education Chief Diversity Officer. $301,000 for Diversity Inclusion Officers. And $118,000 for the Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer. Which, again, it's crazy because, again, this is the stuff that we're seeing. We don't see how much they're spending behind the scenes, but this is what is happening if we don't turn out. They are trying to take over our country with socialism.
No interest in debating. They have no interest in
no common ground.
Compromise or working with you. They understand something many people on the right don't, which is that there really is no reconciling the difference in ideology going into this new age, which isn't an age of ideology. There's no reconcile. Somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And I was listening to you before, your commentary before. They feel they're on the cusp of that. And unless Republicans wake up, that's who's going to be in charge. You just saw it on the screen. 60%, slightly over. It's 62 this month.
Let's put the chart back up there.
Yeah.
62%. This is, and they're coming out of these schools. They're all formed from the time they go to kindergarten, K through 12. They go to these radical universities.
Yeah.
So it gets worse as the demographic gets younger. This is neo-Marxism. This is what their revolution now is: neo-Marxism with jihadism. And there is no compromise. There's no debate. There's nothing to debate with these people. They're not going to debate. Remember, we said yesterday what David Horowitz used to always teach us of the Marxists, what they talk about internally. The issue's never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. And they've got a machine now. The Working Family Party's built up a ground game machine, and the
You don't think this is happening, everybody? Receipts right here. You don't think they're trying to take over our kids? They're trying to infiltrate them? This happened at a school in North Carolina. Look at this. Kids running across a 4-lane highway protesting ICE. Like this stuff that's happening, and people don't want to say nothing about it? What the heck is going on? And again, a lot of people say, well, those are just the bad kids. No. It shouldn't even be happening at all. But if you got to the point where these kids just walk out of school, don't think twice about it, running across a 4-lane highway. Guys, we just bring the receipts. If you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button. I'm just sick and tired of seeing our country being hijacked. And this is why we do what we do. This is why we have this channel, because people need to see what's really going on, because you don't see this stuff on mainstream media.
Socialists, DSA has worked up a machine, Richard. And so you've seen this trend. It's going to be 80 or 90% of the.
And I'm sorry to interrupt everybody, but again, it just pulled up on my feed 6 minutes ago that a kid was running in Florida for an anti-ICE walkout and got hit by a car and now in critical condition. Like, are you serious? And I promise you, they're going to blame Trump that the kid walked out because of the ICE protest from school, and Trump's the reason why he got hit by a car.
Democratic Party, is it not, sir?
Oh, absolutely. This will continue. The only age group that isn't a majority, an outright majority for democratic socialism, is 65 plus. The rest of the age groups, but it is a plurality, a strong plurality, Steve. And if you add those who identify straight up with socialism, it does get to a majority. It's pretty consistent. But again, it's just like as you go down the age ladder into the age buckets, you'll see that it gets overwhelming as the younger that you get. And people who are out there, mocking, the ICE rallies in front of Trump Tower and all of that, understand the No Kings rallies in 2025 targeted people like that, the most extreme on the spectrum, to get them to come out, and they turn those into get out the vote drives. Right now, the right doesn't have anything like this, that kind of energy going on right now. And that's why I'm trying to, bring this to everybody's attention. They're motivating these people. These people are going to be turned into voters. That's their intention. They did it successfully in Virginia in 25. They did it successfully in New Jersey in 25. They're doing this again right now. That's the entire point behind the ICE stuff, Steve, as well as defunding it. But they're motivating people.
Okay, Richard Barris, the issue before us,
I want to show you that again, they steal the elections. This is the actual evidence. Again, we bring it up to you in Nevada in 2020, and they say this didn't happen. 4,000 people voted in Nevada who are non-citizens. 42,000 people voted more than once. Over 20,000 voted who did not have a mailing address. 2,400 voters had an out-of-state address. 130,000 instances of fraud.
The Trump campaign says that tens of thousands of people voted twice in Nevada, among other suspicious voting irregularities, they say. That over 40,000 people voted twice, while 20,000 voters did not have a mailing address, and roughly 2,400 voters had an out-of-state address. The Trump attorney also said a local news station found that 1,500 ballots were cast under dead people's names. Vinall also argued that voting machines in Nevada's Clark County lacked proper security.
The questions are, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And what do we do about it?
In Carson City, Nevada, the president's legal team continues the battle for election integrity following the reveal of repeated instances of fraud. Vinall specifically highlighted changes to general election procedures that removed restrictions on mail-in voter registration.
So again, everybody, it's just a reminder, they 100% took and rigged the 2020 election. With all the evidence, with all the stuff that's come out of Georgia, with everything that we've seen, there's no other valid reasoning for everything that we've seen and why they are fighting so hard against voter ID. What also is, again, too, because remember, they have to be in power. Why? So that they can do what? They can give more money and spend more money on people that are non-citizens to turn them into voters. And that's why, again, too, I want to give a quick word from our partner chapter, guys, because when we show you this stuff, when we show you the actual facts of what's out there, why we got to stick together, why we got to help each other out, this is my heart to you, that if you're on Medicare, you can actually get your coverage taken care of, changed to the best possible coverage out there. There is 24,000 plans out there. How do you know which one is the best? Chapter does this for free. They help so many people out, hundreds and hundreds of people out. The number is 667-895-3015. I promise you, this is the receipt. Go Google it yourself. As of 2026, there are over 24,000 Medicare plan options available nationwide. Don't try to do it by yourself. Call them up. The number's at the bottom of the screen as well as in the description. And go get your blessing. And let me know about it because I love to see it. Jensen, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Show Jensen some love in the chat, everybody. And don't forget to show Jitso G some love in the chat. Thomas Brewer. Show some love to our friends giving, guys. Thank y'all so much for your blessings. We're just getting started, guys. So much has happened today. We are figuring out the funders. We are finding out the people, exposing them all across the board who have 100% stolen from us, and we're going to get our country back.
I have two guys working on with organizations that are motivating people and laying the foundation because we don't have a choice. And I realize a lot of people are saying, hey, some of the policies are not working. I don't see a lot happening. This is why the 2020 election issue is very important, because we know, number one, it has to happen because they stole the 2020 election. All of this disaster that's befallen us, it's been building up for decades, but it's principally because they allowed 25 million illegal aliens in the country because they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, sure.
They knew exactly what was going to happen when you had to come to mass deportations. The business community is going to fight you because we need the cheap labor and the plentiful labor. And, oh, you can't knock a point or two off of GDP to do this. You got to stop. This is terrible. Barris, talk to me about motivation right now, because their side's motivated because they think they're winning. They believe that they're winning. They believe they're surging. They believe they see the end of Trump and the end of MAGA. They see the sunlit uplands, and they're rolling hard. And they've got outside money. They've got, Peter Schweitzer's book. Now, I think it's going to be the fourth week in a row on the #1 bestsellers list about the Chinese Communist Party and the Mexican government. There are many forces in the world trying to tear down America, right? And Barris, talk about the motivation. Let's get your charts up. You've been doing polling on this, and you're the last guy that's been a doom scroller. You've been with us since the very beginning, right? In 16, and then on the night of 2020, you're the one that said, hey, Georgia's, and Rassenberger came out the next morning and said it's impossible. Trump's up by, 200,000, 5,000 votes. There's only 190,000 left. Trump's going to win this. It's inevitable. You told us that before we signed off that night, before they went in and stole it. So talk to me about motivation now.
Look, motivation is key because, Steve, when we're looking at just the generic ballot, for instance, and if they have the chart, they can throw it up. That'd be great. But I'll just tell you, about 3 points of the Democrats' lead on the generic ballot right now. And it's been, 3, 4. Comes from motivation. It comes from enthusiasm, the certainty to vote, having the voting history to back it up. Everybody has, every pollster has their own little likely voter model, sometimes proprietary. But in our likely voter model, 3 points, 4 points completely comes from Democrats being more motivated. And I understand, that some people want to moderate going into the midterms. That is always stupid. All right, just look back at what happened with ICE and how, the donors came in and basically said, we need to chill out. We're going to turn people off. That's not necessarily how you handle it. At this point, we're at a point where look at the difference between extremely enthusiastic right there with Democrats versus Republicans. That is almost identical to what it was for Republicans when they won the House vote in 2022. Wow. We're at that point already. So the only play I see Republicans have here is to juice their base. I mean, you're down on the generic ballot with independents by 20 points. The only way to narrow...
To me, let me know your thoughts, everybody. The way that we get our entire base fired up is going to be arrest. You just heard Kash Patel, I showed you earlier, who literally said, we found them. We found the funders who are funding the Antifa, the riots, all them, and we're going after them. And we've got their names and their bank accounts, and we've got everything. We're going after them. But the more that we see arrest, the more the MAGA base gets fired up. They just arrested Prince Andrew, who's been tied to the Epstein in the UK by the UK police. This is big. The first official arrest for a person tied to the Epstein files, Prince Andrew, which is huge. Former Prince Andrew, I'm sorry. Joe DeVito, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Show our boy Joe some love in the chat, everybody. And if you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. But now Nancy Mace is calling for Bill Gates to be arrested. Andrew's arrest. This is literally her post, everybody. This is a sitting representative calling for a huge, huge billionaire to be arrested. And if you didn't know what his net worth is, he's worth about $106 billion. Okay? This is a very, very powerful man with as much money as he's got. So Representative Nancy Mace is calling for his arrest. The biggest thing that I want to show you next is, again, the way that they're looking at what's going to happen next by people in Congress is who's tied to him now. Now that Prince Andrew, the first arrest has been made, now it's who else has ties to him. And you might know this lady, okay? I don't know. Some of you might not. It's okay. But you might know her. Let me know your thoughts. Check this out.
My husband took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. Hillary playing dumb on Epstein despite the flight logs that we've all seen and pictures like this of Slick Willie in a hot tub with a redacted female. Hanging with Maxwell and Epstein back in the day. There's a lot of pictures of Bill. Hillary barely knew them, she claimed. Well, here's Ghislaine at your daughter's wedding 15 years ago, your only child's wedding. I'm sure you had a hand in the guest list, and you probably paid for the whole thing. The Clinton sworn testimony next week is going to be very interesting. Earlier today, 88-year-old former Victoria's Secret CEO, billionaire Les Wexner, another big name in the list, testified about his relationship with Epstein to the House Oversight Committee. He got to do so from the comfort of his home in Ohio. Listed as Epstein's co-conspirator in an unredacted DOJ file, Wexner claims he's innocent, saying he was duped by a world-class con man. A person familiar with Wexner's testimony today tells us he testified he's not friends with Epstein, never saw Epstein act inappropriately around women in his presence, never did anything, never saw anybody do anything, didn't know nothing. Committee ranking member Congressman Robert Garcia saying this.
There is no single person that was more involved in providing Jeffrey Epstein with the financial support to commit his crimes than Les Wexner.
Wow.
So there you go. Congressman Tim Burchett sits on the House Task Force on the declassification of federal secrets, and he joins us tonight. Sir, it's good to have you back on this topic. What did you make of the Wexner testimony? I know you did not travel for it today, and no Republican did. I want to ask you about that in a second, but let's start with Les Wexner's claim.
Oh, no, you're going to me. I'm sorry. I was waiting for another.
No, go ahead,
insert.
Congressman. Just you.
No, yeah. I think, well, obviously everybody's got their talking points, and their talking points is, I didn't know this guy. I have nothing to do with him, just like Hillary Clinton, because, you wouldn't know anybody at your only daughter's wedding. That was a private, very limited affair. I think that's what they're all going to do. All these dirtbags are going to stick together like they do, and somebody's going to have to press some charges. I'll be happy when I see one of these dirtbags in chains, in my opinion, because I'm over it. I'm completely over it. I'm just, the Biden administration had this thing for 4 years, and now you couldn't even get. I remember our own Senator Marsha Blackburn when she tried to get Dick Durbin to release the flight logs. And he's like, what are you talking about? What flight logs? And the national media covered for it. What's the difference between then and now? Donald Trump's in the White House, and they're out to get Trump. And he's clearly...
The only difference is that Trump's in the White House and the Democrats aren't in charge. That's why we're seeing actual movement, actual accountability. It's not as fast as we want it to be, but we are moving forward, everybody. And this is the part, again, where people need to know, you Democrats out there that all want to say that Trump's a part of the Epstein files and Trump was this, logic tells you that if Trump truly had damning evidence in the Epstein files, the Democrats would have used it in a heartbeat to put out before the election so that he wouldn't win. That's how you know he's been vindicated from any of these things having to do with Epstein. That's how you know. Because you know the Democrats are slimy. You know that they'll do whatever they can to win. They already use illegals to vote. So I'm telling you, everybody, this is the common sense that I feel like is starting to finally seep into some dang Americans across the board. Or as some people have told me, don't say across the board, Joel, say across the country. Hey, show PDX67 some love in the chat. Thank you so much, brother, for your support. Our boy Patrick Trebet with the super chat, my favorite GIF. Show Patrick some love. And guys, give it up for Elaine Ward, OG of the fam, member of the family. Show Elaine some love in the chat. Thank you so much, Elaine, for your blessings and support. We appreciate you so much. Give them some love, everybody, in the chat.
And I knew this dirtbag. There's clearly evidence to show that he called the law on Epstein. And now you got the head of Victoria's Secret, a magazine or, a group that advertises women scantily clad in underwear. And then he doesn't even know Epstein, which I just don't buy any of it. I don't buy any of it. I think they've all got the same advisors, and they're all just going to stick together like dirtbags do.
Why did Republicans not attend go to Ohio and attend this hearing, this deposition?
Well, I didn't know anything about it, actually. I'm sorry, I probably would. But the thing is, when they don't do them in Washington, again, we don't have we're catering to these dirtbags. Same with the Clintons. I don't know why we're going to go to New York to meet with them. We ought to be calling them in. If you got called in, guess what? You would go to Washington, D.C.
What do you make of the report from JobSite News that the Israeli government installed and maintained the security system at Epstein's apartment? There's a lot of theories that this guy was, an agent, was.
If the Israeli government installed and maintained the security system at Epstein's apartment, look, y'all, I'm telling you, we're learning a lot of stuff right now. And I pause it because, again, too, that's important. You got to make sure we know what the heck's going on. Deanna Barkman, thank you so much for gifting 5 True Life News memberships. Show our girl Deanna some love in the chat, everybody.
Using these women to get people into dangerous situations. You buy any of that?
The Israelis are a lot slicker than that, brother. I think he would get in these situations and he would try to sell his information to others. I think he's just a low-level tracker, and he had some high-level friends. He collected friends. I mean, who keeps 1 million emails? Basically, that's about what they've got. I mean, the file's 1 million pages that this guy, and how many criminals document their history? This is just a very strange thing. And I think eventually I think some stuff's gonna be planted, and it's gonna be so outrageous that makes the regular stuff that you and I would find repulsive just kind of like, eh. And I think that's part of the strategy in this too.
I mean, the more we seem to read in these files and some of these emails that you see are just, it looks really, really vile, a lot of it.
It's demonic. It's demonic.
It feels like that.
Did you hear that?
Are the Clintons going to get a congressional colonoscopy next week?
We always gear up for that, and I'm sure they'll take some punches, but I'm sure their attorneys will block it. I'll still believe it when I see it. He's slick. She's the brains of the operation, obviously, but they haven't gotten them yet. I just think we're putting all our eggs in one basket, and I think we're going to be disappointed. Somebody's going to say something, and there'll be a little back and forth, but it's just going to be the attorneys battling the attorneys, and the national media will cover for them because they have his entire. I mean, if you go back to Arkansas and the involvement in the cocaine traffic that was alleged and documented in movies and things like that, and if you fast forward to being in the White House and all the dealings he had with foreign nationals that the press just let go, and forget Monica Lewinsky, that's not even an issue. And then what he's done since he's left, the money that went to these charities, everybody's questioning. Nobody really questions. I mean, she's the reason they're not in jail right now. And I don't think we're going to get them on anything. I honestly don't. I know everybody's, but I think they're evil, but they're very smart.
Too powerful. You coming on?
You hear that?
Thank you.
I'm telling you, everybody, we know how deep it is. How deep the socialism, the elitists, like these people that, again, are always smarter than you. They come in, they promise everything, and they protect their own, and we expose them, guys. And if you don't mind helping us out, hitting the thumbs up like button. I show you this because, again, this could come to a city near you. This is what happens whenever you vote in a socialist. All right, so right now, you've got on the screen, Mamdani cuts 5,000 NYPD hires, slashes 11 million from police. You want to know what he's putting that towards? You know I bring the receipts, everybody. $5.6 million for Office of Racial Equity and $4.6 million for commissions on racial equity. Well, that's about $10.2 million right there. Go ahead and add in the $835,000 for a commission of gender equity. Well, now you're at your $12 million. Now you're at $11 million. Oh, so you see what he's doing. He's continuing to put, instead of making sure the city is safe, you got the officers, he's reallocating the money towards DEI woke ideologies and positions. Again, this is the receipts. You're seeing it right next to each other, okay? This is, again, around 12. This is around $11.5 million. And I just showed you, where did he get that $11 million from? Well, he cut the NYPD hires. This is all, again, they don't care about safety. You've seen some of the craziest videos that have come out from New York and all these places. People are so fed up. And I don't know if y'all are football fans or not, but I'm showing you this because this is what happens when you get people that don't want to serve we the people. Illinois is upset because guess what? If you're a Chicago Bears fan, you're about to be an Indiana Bears fan. The Chicago Bears are moving to North Indiana and are going to be the Indiana Bears. They have finalized a stadium bill and the Bears are moving to Indiana. My mom's upset because she's a Bears fan. I have no reason why she is, because she's never lived in Chicago, but she likes them. So it is what it is. But this is what happens. And the reason being because Indiana took care of them. Indiana knows that, hey, when it comes to the business and jobs, they took care of the football team. And it draws a lot of money. So I'm telling you, Chicago mayor is upset like nobody's business. And I want to show you this next piece, because the more that we dig into the fraud, the waste, the abuse, what's going on, this right here from our boy Mike, who helps us to see what is going on behind the scenes with the lawyers. Because there is things happening to go after people. We just haven't fully seen it yet. Check this out.
But there does seem to be this lack of a smoking gun. We had Jay Beecher on, who's a reporter on this. He was talking about the fact that it was actually Virginia Guffey who was the one that popularized this idea of this large blackmail ring, that he had lists full of people he had compromise on. But we're not really seeing that. And so I guess the question is, you're well connected to the DOJ. There are other co-conspirators named in some of the files, like Les Wexner. Are you hearing that there are suits being, or cases being built against the co-conspirators that did sort of turn a blind eye, that enabled him?
As I've said, if you rape kids, you deserve the death penalty. There's no question about that. The problem is if you don't have victims who come forward and want to testify, if you don't have evidence, you can't bring charges. And that's the issue. We also have the federal rules of evidence. We also have the federal rules of criminal procedure. There is a reason that grand jury evidence is secret, because it's not tested. It's not subject to cross-examination, and people can go in and it's one-sided, and people can go in and say whatever the hell they want, and they're not subject to confrontation, right? And so that's why this grand jury evidence is secret. You make it public through the federal rules of evidence and the federal rules of criminal procedure through a trial with the proper safeguards to make sure that the evidence is relevant and it's not unfairly prejudicial. You're not going to smear people like Thomas Massey did with those 4 guys and Rohana. his Democrat co-conspirator did to those 4 guys who were innocent, right? That's the whole reason we have these procedures to protect to protect victims, to protect witnesses, to protect those who are accused. We've had these in place for centuries, but we got rid of this because Thomas Massie decided he was going to pass legislation for the first time in his life, conveniently timed to think they're going to try to use it to screw over President Trump, and it backfired and blew up in their faces.
Yeah, it's Mike, I've been very.
He's contrarian.
I'm the contrarian. I've been skeptical about a lot of the Epstein stuff, probably since this really started to whip up last summer. And I think it's worth emphasizing what you said, where if you want to bring criminal charges, you need actual alleged specific acts by specific people. And I do feel there's been this miasma around it, where it's like, why isn't everyone being charged? Why aren't there arrests and convictions? But as you say, considering we have so many alleged victims of all of this, there's been strikes me as a huge shortage of anyone stepping up to specifically say, I had this specific crime done to me by this specific person. And if you don't have that, what exactly are you going to indict?
Well, let me make this other point that I think is important. If you want to bring accountability for the lawfare against President Trump, his aides, and his allies, then let's not demand that every good person in the Justice Department has to sit through months and months and months of document review on this Epstein BS, because that's what happens. The reason we're not seeing accountability on lawfare right now is because Thomas Massie and his Democrat buddies have all the Trump Justice Department people up to their eyeballs in Epstein document review for many months. So there are finite resources at the Justice Department, as there should be, and we had to focus on Thomas Massie's priorities, his political nonsense, rather than actually holding people accountable for their crimes.
So again, everybody, I want to show you this because I'm telling you, I love when stuff pops up that is happening across the United States, that is stuff that you don't see on mainstream media, but it is showing that something is in the ether right now of people backtracking what they have said to Trump, about Trump. You're not going to believe what I'm going to show you next. And if you appreciate this,
I wouldn't.
I hope you would hit the thumbs up like button, guys. Show Jim Barbato some love in the chat. Check this out. So J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, has come out and said hasn't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. Listen to what she says as well, Nicole Wallace. And then let's look at the receipts. Because I'm telling you, this doesn't happen unless they're afraid that there's something behind closed doors. And we just know that Governor J.B. Pritzker's cousin was just caught with having to do with I'm pretty sure it was I've got to get this right. Because you know me, guys, I want to make sure I say this right. His cousin, Tom Pritzker, just resigned over ties to the Jeffrey Epstein files. He was the chairman of Hyatt Hotels, and now you hear him say this. So when you see this, just know in context, there's probably something happening behind the scenes.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler.
Wait, why is it going so fast?
I wouldn't say
I don't think any Democrat.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. I wouldn't say
I don't think any Democrat has.
Do you hear that? I don't think that I've suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler, and she says, I don't think any Democrat has.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. I wouldn't say
I don't think any Democrat has.
Right here, J.B. Pritzker, here's the receipt. During his state budget, Governor Pritzker warned that the United States must learn from history, noting that the seeds of distrust that grew into a dictatorship in Europe a lifetime ago didn't arrive overnight. He said the Nazis dismantled the Constitution, and that if Americans want to avoid repeating it in history, we better be strong enough to learn. Then you got him again saying in a television interview, Donald Trump's remarks describing opponents as vermin. Pritzker said such rhetoric was reminiscent of the 1930s in Germany. Then you got Joe Biden, who said the exact same thing. Then you got Tim Walz, who compared the Madison Square Garden rally to a 1939 pro-Nazi. Receipts matter, everybody. The Democrats are afraid when family members start going to jail. Prince Andrew's butt is in jail right now because of his ties with Epstein. People are getting nervous. Look at this. Former Prince Andrew has been arrested by the UK police over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? Then you got Representative Nancy Mace right here, who's come out and said, hey, guess what? Bill Gates, you're next. I keep seeing memes that say Bill Clinton is super nervous over what's about to happen. And it doesn't end there, guys. I want to show you this. Because I love to bring the receipts of things. The momentum is shifting, and if we can own it, we will win the midterms, okay? This is polling by CNN, because I like to show you different outlets over people are leaning more towards MAGA.
Electoral races nationwide should stand as a wake-up call for Democrats, a wake-up call for Democrats.
You hear this?
Because take a look here, the race raiders, governors post-2026 election, at least tilting to the Republicans. Look at this, a majority, 26. That is at this point the number of governors that are expected, at least tilting towards the Republican Party at this point. Democrats come in at just 20. The rest of the races are toss-up. Of course, you sum up to 50. And I will note that the Republicans right now hold a 26 to 24 gubernatorial seat advantage. So at this point, it doesn't look like Republicans on the net and the aggregate are actually going to lose any governorships. In fact, when you add in those toss-ups, they may gain. So this should stand as a major wake-up call to Democrats, because if there's a wave building, it has not, at least at this point, hit the state level when it comes to governorships.
And
electoral race.
So you see, everybody, the tides are shifting. I don't want to. Again, if we get more arrest, we will win the midterms. And right here, this was reported by the leading report. President Trump hints at unveiling evidence that foreign powers meddled in the 2020 election via Truth Social post. Again, right here, we know this is what they're afraid of. Happy birthday, Sweet Kitten. Let's go. Show Sweet Kitten some love in the chat. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Google user, for your support. Mountain Goddess, thank you so much for your support. Said you and your research is appreciated. Jim Barbado, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. We appreciate you so much. Guys, we have the best chat. We really do. I love it. And I want to show you this because, again, in a stunning defeat for the experts, President Trump just announced the U.S. trade deficit has been slashed by 78% because of tariffs and will go into the positive this year. Do y'all realize this is the first time this has happened in decades? That this is why the trade tariffs, all this is so real. It needs to happen because this is going to protect us when it comes to all of our materials and how we manufacture our jobs. It protects Americans. It protects the dollar because we have been screwed over by all these other countries. Now we're actually hitting back because we got a president who's not afraid to hit back. And if you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, we are so thankful to everybody that is watching. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and joining our family so that we can serve you every day with the breaking news. This is something that, again, we just want to serve you and bring you as much value as possible every single day. And when it comes to, again, who we partner with, there's lots of people that want to come on this channel and they want to partner with us, and we're only going to partner with people that bring value to you. Especially like our partner right now, Chapter, who provides a free service to you, everybody. If you're on Medicare, there's over 24,000 plans. Like, that is just insane to even say. How? But there's over 24,000 plans for Medicare. Chapter can help you find the right plan and change the coverage right now. The number is 667-895-3015. The number's in the description as well as at the bottom of the screen. We just want to see you blessed. We want to see you keep more of your hard-earned money. And again, it's all about the receipts, everybody. This type of stuff that I show you, as of 2026, this is from a Google search, there are over 24,000 Medicare plan options available nationwide. Makes no sense whatsoever, but don't do it by yourself. Get some help. Call Chapter and tell them Joel sent you from True Life News. And I want to give some special love to those that have given, because remember, when you give on this channel, we donate to a local charity live on stream every single month on the 22nd to a local children's home, partnering with you to help out these innocent kids. Thank you so much to our boy Thomas Brewer for his support and helping us grow. Thank you so much, Thomas. Show him some love in the chat. Thank you so much, brother, for your support. Elaine Ward, thank you so much, Elaine, for your blessing. Show Elaine some love in the chat, everybody. Jitso G, thank you so much for your 5 gifted memberships growing our family. Deanna Barkman, thank you for your 5 memberships growing our family. Our boy Richard for his gifted membership. Show him some love in the chat, everybody. Growing the True Life News fam. I love it. The Memphis Conservative, thank you so much. Google user, we appreciate you so much. Bring the popcorn. Martin Gonzalez, Jeffrey Hatt, CRR123. Jensen, thank you so much, Jensen. Joe DeVito, thank you so much, Joe. Patrick Trebet, we appreciate you, brother. Our boy JB, Jim Barbato, bringing in with his support. We appreciate you so much, Mountain Goddess. And thank you so much to our boy Robert Cash, the Truth, Accountability, Justice. Let's go. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for sharing our videos on X on Facebook. It means the world to us. We bring you a show every single day, everybody, to show you what's going on behind the scenes, stuff you don't see on mainstream media. We love you, appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good morning. The committee meets today to consider the nomination of Admiral Samuel Paparo to be the next commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, or Indo-PACOM. Admiral, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for stepping forward to lead at this critical time. We'd also like to recognize your family, particularly your daughter Regina, who was scheduled to be here, in a few moments, Senator Hirono will formally introduce you. And let me thank your family for all of the years they've dedicated to the service of this nation and the Navy. I'd also like to thank the current Indo-PACOM Commander, Admiral John Aquilino, who will retire later this spring. Admiral Aquilino has served the nation with skill and honor for nearly 4 decades, and we congratulate him on his retirement. Admiral Paparo, you are well qualified to lead Indo-PACOM. As the current commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, you have led our maritime forces in the region during a momentous time. You bring a record of successful leadership around the globe and command experience at all levels of our military. If confirmed, you will lead America's military forces in the most consequential theater in the world, the Indo-Pacific. There is a common understanding that the future of our national security is tied to our competition with China. This competition is occurring right now across every field of national power: military, economic, political, technological, and more. Maintaining America's advantage will require a whole-of-government effort, but Indo-PACOM will continue to hold the leading edge of our strategy. As Indo-PACOM commander, you will need to understand China's competitive tactics, develop new competitive tools of our own, and integrate our activities with those of our allies and partners. For several decades, the People's Liberation Army has studied America's way of war and focused their efforts on countering our advantages. China has invested in offsetting technologies like anti-access and area denial systems, artificial intelligence, unmanned vehicles, hypersonics, and, of course, nuclear weapons. Further, Beijing has leveraged a combination of military and civil power against its neighbors, including statecraft, economic pressure, coercion, and deception. China has sought ways to achieve its national objectives while avoiding a direct confrontation with the United States military. As the Defense Department's new joint concept for competing states, China seeks to win without fighting. The strategy warns that we do not adapt our approach to compete more effectively. The United States risks ceding strategic influence, advantage, and leverage while preparing for a war that never occurs. Indeed, the document warns that the U.S. could lose without fighting. Just as Chinese leaders have studied America's way of war, we need to study theirs. With that in mind, Admiral, I would ask for your assessment of how China is evolving its competitive strategies and objectives. I would also appreciate your views on what military and non-military factors are most likely to impact Chinese decision-making with respect to potential action against Taiwan and our regional partners. Indeed, our network of allies and partners will be the decisive factor in this competition. We have seen the power of this approach through the coalition effort to support Ukraine, and this strategy should continue to be pursued in the Indo-Pacific as well, particularly as we strive to deter Chinese aggression against Taiwan. We are making good progress through networks like AUKUS and the Quad, which is made up of the United States, Australia, India, and Japan. Each of these partnerships provide valuable blueprints for the future. There has also been momentum in a number of other relationships, including our new basing agreement with the Philippines, a remarkable transformation in Japan's defense strategy, and historic cooperation announcements between South Korea and Japan. Admiral, I would ask for your views on how we can build upon these multilateral efforts and pursue more opportunities to engage our partners in the Indo-Pacific. Admiral Paparo, if confirmed, you will lead Indo-PACOM at a critical time. I am grateful for your willingness to step forward to meet this challenge. Thank you, and I look forward to your testimony. When Senator Wicker arrives, I will ask for his testimony if he wants to deliver it or to submit it for the record. At this point, I would like to call upon Senator Hirono to introduce you for your opening statement, Admiral Paparo. Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Admiral, and to you and your family. Congratulations on your nomination. I'm here today to introduce Admiral Samuel Paparo, President Biden's nomination for the next commander of U.S. Indo-PACOM. And as the chairman noted, this area of responsibility is one of the most critical to our national defense. As commander of Indo-PACOM, Admiral Paparo would be responsible for all military operations in the Pacific, a priority theater with great and growing strategic importance for the U.S. and our partners and allies. If confirmed, Admiral Paparo will be responsible for operations in the Pacific and integrating multiple components, including U.S. forces in Korea and Japan, U.S. Special Operations Command Pacific, the U.S. Pacific Fleet, U.S. Marine Forces Pacific, U.S. Pacific Air Forces, and U.S. Army Pacific. He will continue protecting 65% of the world's oceans. This is why the Indo-Pacific area of responsibility is so important, because it is geographically the largest combatant command. So in addition to 65% of the world's oceans that you have to oversee, you will be overseeing 66 significant defense sites, which are home to 375,000 U.S. military and civilian personnel serving in the region. In this role, Admiral Paparo would also be in charge of overseeing the military's presence in Hawaii, which is home to all branches of the military, with 14 key military installations and more than 55,000 active duty service members and their families. Hawaii's Central Pacific location has been a significant military location since Pearl Harbor was established in 1899 and continues to be invaluable for strategic defense in the Pacific. As a senior military officer on island, I will look to Admiral Paparo to lead on all issues in Hawaii, including the successful permanent closure of the Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility on Oahu and transparent open communications with the community. While we have made great progress in safely defueling Red Hill, just this week, new reports have emerged regarding tap water and air quality issues from Navy water system users near Red Hill, leading to testing of the water. I continue to hear from families impacted by Red Hill and the continuing impacts they face, underscoring the need for an Indo-PACOM commander familiar with this issue and the work that lies ahead to permanently, safely close Red Hill and remediate the area while protecting our communities. I have shared these concerns with Admiral Paparo and my expectations for him if he is confirmed. Indo-PACOM Command is a critical role, especially as we work to counter threats across the region from Russia, China, North Korea, and others. And that's why it is important we have a commander who understands the region, the threats we face, and the communities in which our troops serve. Mr. Chairman, Admiral Paparo has dedicated his adult life to serving our nation with more than 37 years of service in the Navy. And as U.S. Pacific Fleet Commander based in Hawaii, he currently oversees all naval operations in the Pacific. Before becoming PAC Fleet Commander, Admiral Paparo served on numerous operational and staff tours around the world and was also a Top Gun fighter pilot. I know he will speak more about his background in his remarks, but suffice to say his experience is extensive. That experience informs his leadership mentality, to quote him, never ready enough, end quote, which I appreciate as chair of the Readiness Subcommittee of SASC. That mentality will serve him well if confirmed. As the next Indo-PACOM commander, he will have his work cut out for him. In addition to ensuring the readiness and operational capabilities of troops in our priority theater, the next Indo-PACOM commander will face many issues with wide impacts on the state of Hawaii. In addition to Red Hill's closure, Admiral Paparo will also play an important role in the renegotiation of land leases between the department and the state of Hawaii for several critical training areas, including Pohakaloa Training Area on the Big Island. These negotiations will significantly impact the way that training is conducted in the state and could put at risk the continued training of land forces in Hawaii if not successfully and mutually concluded. An understanding of and appreciation for Hawaii's unique culture and history are vital to any Indo-PACOM commander's success. Having lived and worked in Hawaii for several years, Admiral Paparo has shared with me his interest in developing Hawaii's defense industrial workforce and collaborating more closely with Hawaii's universities and institutions. I've appreciated having strong working relationships with Admiral Aquilino and his predecessors at Indo-PACOM, and if confirmed, I look forward to working with Admiral Paparo to support our troops, our communities, and our national security. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Rono. Admiral Paparo, Senator Wicker has arrived. I'll recognize him for his statement, then I'll recognize you for your statement. Senator Wicker, please.
What he's saying is you're eventually going to get to talk, Admiral. Let me first of all say, though, that this is a special day in the life of one of our committee members. Senator Sullivan will be retiring from the Marine Corps this afternoon. He's certainly not retiring from the Senate or from this committee, but I want to mention that to our fellow members of the committee and to congratulate Senator Sullivan on his service to the United States. And Admiral, I want to welcome you and thank you for your service. You're clearly carrying on a proud tradition. Your grandfather served as an enlisted sailor during World War II. Your father served as an enlisted Marine. I speak for everyone when I say I'm grateful for the legacy of service. I'm confident that you are exceptionally qualified to lead our forces in the Pacific. We need another great leader to take the baton from Admiral Aquilino for this important command. Senior defense leaders have stated before this committee that the United States is facing the most dangerous national security environment since World War II. Nowhere is that fact more evident than in the Indo-PACOM theater. Beijing has conducted the largest and most rapid military buildup in modern history, surpassing our own military in many categories. The Pentagon's most pressing task remains deterring conflict in the Indo-Pacific. Failure to prevent aggression there would would have enormous consequences. Trillions of dollars would be wiped away. The loss of lives would be enormous. Admiral, if confirmed, you would take command at a time of great challenge, and you would be a crucial part of our ability to overcome these difficulties. You'll be part of history, sir. In the South China Sea, Beijing wants total control. China continues to undermine the Philippines' legitimate maritime claims at Second Thomas Shoal, firing water cannons and lasers at Filipino vessels. China is also intent on destabilizing the Korean Peninsula. By refusing to enforce sanctions or apply any pressure to the Kim regime, China is actively encouraging an arms race between North and South Korea. The United States must be prepared to meet that challenge through resolute support for our allies, South Korea and Japan. This will require our uniformed leaders to provide honest and realistic assessments of the relevant threats and enemy capabilities. Congress has required the commander of INDOPACOM to provide an independent assessment of the resources necessary to meet the challenge. If confirmed, I trust you would continue to be open and direct about what you need. There is much more that we can and should do. The Pacific Deterrence Initiative has failed to transition into a real tool of budgetary change at the Pentagon. We've made minimal progress in bolstering deterrence in the Western Pacific. The United States must also improve our munitions procurement and production. Deterring conflict will require the Defense Industrial Base and the Pentagon to build the right systems in sufficient quantity at the speed of relevance. We need an operational joint task force. But so far, that wish, that directive, in fact, remains unfulfilled. The enabling infrastructure is not expanding fast enough to support distributed military operations in the near future. We have barely begun building contested logistics plans. This will include taking a hard-nosed look at what we need in order to maximize our operational capacity on strategically vital Guam and on other islands in the first and second island chains that would be essential in a contested logistics scenario. The United States alliance structure needs further modernization, and we should include command and control and joint planning operations. We cannot wait for conflict to begin to make these updates. Congress can help deter war in the Pacific, but our window to do so is rapidly closing. We need to build on last year's work with this year's NDAA. Admiral Paparo, I think you're exceptionally qualified, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. Admiral Paparo, your statement, please.
Good morning to all. Chairman Reed, Ranking Member Wicker, distinguished members of the committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to appear. Senator Hirono, thank you for the kind introduction. Senator Sullivan, Marine, congratulations, sir. I thank the President and the Secretary of Defense for the trust and confidence in this nomination. I have great admiration and gratitude for my friend and mentor, Admiral John C. and Laura Aquilino, as they transition from 40 years of dedicated service to the nation. I'm grateful to the committee and to Congress for your continued support of the members of the armed services, their families, and DoD civilians. They are our nation's very best, and your support enables their success. I serve as commander of U.S. Pacific Fleet. I'm a sailor, a naval officer, and a fighter pilot, but foremost, I'm a husband to Maureen Connolly Paparo and father to our 6 children, Regina, her husband Christopher, Samuel, his soon-to-be wife Katie, Elizabeth, John, Joseph, and Michael. Together, we've served at 15 duty stations around the world, and each of our children has attended more than 5 schools. Most of our children have attended 3 high schools. I'm so very grateful for their wisdom. In the case of mentors, my greatest mentor is Maureen, whose wisdom and serenity have been my greatest influence throughout my life. Our family is from Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My single mother, Suzanne Paparo, as a young mother, gave up her dreams to raise my brother and my sister and I, working in a barber shop in South Philly and a makeup counter. My dear father, a former enlisted Marine and a shipyard worker, also had tremendous influence in my service. I'd like to also acknowledge Maureen's late parents, her father, an Army veteran, the late Jim and Regina Connolly, and our sisters and brothers, all of whom are located in that southeastern Pennsylvania area. We have a very close-knit and rooted family that give us strength and keep us rooted through the many moves around the world. I'd like to acknowledge my mentors in all services, above the chain of command and maybe most assuredly below the chain of command. My commanding officers, but also leaders from the hardest working, most dedicated young enlisted to the senior most admirals and generals who guided and mentored me. Most of all, I'd like to thank the senior non-commissioned leaders, the chief petty officers, the sergeants major, the gunnies, and the first shirts who've guided me. The senior NCO Corps is the strength of the Joint Force and is the asymmetric advantage of the American Joint Force. As Commander, United States Pacific Fleet, for the last 3 years, I have led INDOPACOM's maritime component and integrated operations of the Joint Force for deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. Other operational tours include United States Central Command Director of Operations, Director of the Air and Space Operations Center in Al Udeid, Qatar. I've served with the U.S. Air Force, flying the mighty F-15C Eagle. I've also served with the U.S. Army as a provincial reconstruction team commander in the eastern zone of Afghanistan in the Nuristan province, and have had operational tours including operational command in Japan and having deployed, flown, and served throughout the Pacific and the Indian Ocean region. As stated by the chairman, ranking member, and Senator Rono, it has never been more critical for the Joint Force, along critically with our allies and partners, to operate confidently, professionally, and responsively. Together, we strive to maintain regional stability in this consequential theater and safeguard the sovereign rights of nations through posture and dynamic operations and exercise. Our joint and combined operations are increasingly frequent, complex, multilateral, interoperable, and interchangeable. But as Senator Hirono stated, we must never consider ourselves ready enough. We must always be improving our position. If confirmed, I pledge to work with this committee to ensure that we meet the top defense priorities in the National Defense Strategy, and most especially deterring conflict as the PRC, our pacing challenge, continues to escalate its aggressive behavior. The PRC is our only competitor with the will and with the capability to reshape the international order to suit its autocratic preferences. We'll work closely with our interagency teammates and our allies and partners as we also face the challenge of Russia, of North Korea, and violent extremist groups. If confirmed, I will ensure that we maintain the overmatch that preserves stability today, tomorrow, next week, and for the decades to come. Thank you, Chairman Reed, Ranking Member.
Thank you very much, Admiral. I have a series of standard questions that nominees must respond to. Please respond appropriately. Have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest?
Yes, Senator.
Have you assumed any duties or taken any actions that would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
No, sir.
Exercising our legislative and oversight responsibilities makes it important that this committee, its subcommittees, and other appropriate committees of Congress receive testimony, briefings, reports, records, and other information from the executive branch on a timely basis. Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify before this committee when requested?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree, when asked before this committee, to give your personal views, even if your views differ from the administration?
Yes, Senator.
Do you agree to provide records, documents, and electronic communications in a timely manner when requested by this committee, its subcommittees, or other appropriate committees of Congress, and to consult with the requester regarding the basis for any good faith delay or denial in providing such records?
Yes, sir.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established by this committee for the production of reports, records, and other information, including timely responding to hearing questions for the record?
Yes, Senator.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
Yes, sir.
Will these witnesses and briefers be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you very much, Admiral Paparo. We are in the moment, a historic moment, conflict in Ukraine, conflict in the Middle East, tensions in the Indo-Pacific. One of the issues revolving around Ukraine is I think China is looking very closely at what we're doing. And our current difficulty in providing resources to Ukraine is not going unnoticed in China. As the CI Director Burns pointed out, no one is watching U.S. support for Ukraine more closely than Chinese leaders. One of the surest ways to rekindle Chinese perceptions of American fecklessness and stoke Chinese aggressiveness would be to abandon support for Ukraine. Do you concur in that observation?
Sir, I do concur. Russian failure to achieve its aggressive actions directly aid deterrence in the Western Pacific and directly reassure partners our key strategic competitive advantage.
And so the most decisive thing we can do in the moment and absolutely necessary is to pass the supplemental in your view?
Sir, I do agree.
Thank you. What are the lessons you believe that China is taking from the battle in Ukraine?
The first is the first lesson is instead of seeing the Ukraine conflict and decide this is too hard, their intention, on the other hand, is to take note of the actions of Russia in order to effect a short, sharp, fait accompli conflict that presents a fait accompli to all of the world. And so rather than take the strategic lesson of the futility of aggression, instead, it is doubling down on their ability to shrink strategic, operational, and tactical warning and act quickly.
Now, another aspect of this supplemental is the direct support to our military, $2 billion in military financing for the Indo-Pacific, which I presume is absolutely critical. I also want to commend Senator Wicker because he's worked very hard to get additional money for our industrial base and our submarine industrial base. This is necessary, I presume, in fact, critical. Is that your view?
Absolutely critical, yes, sir.
And in the Indo-PACOM, that will help you dramatically help Taiwan to take the lessons of Ukraine themselves and turn them on the Chinese?
Yes, sir. Taiwan itself is taking the lessons of Ukraine, and they're acting with dispatch, and I have great admiration for that. And it will directly aid deterrence in the Pacific with tremendous leverage.
Thank you, sir. One of the perennial questions with respect to the United States relations with Taiwan is the issue of strategic ambiguity. You are operating under the Taiwan Relations Act, which is ambiguous at best. This question came up repeatedly when Avril Haines was here, the Director of National Intelligence. She said if adopting an explicit commitment would be deeply destabilizing, it would solidify Chinese perceptions that the U.S. is bent on constraining China's rise, including through military force, and would probably cause Beijing to aggressively undermine U.S. interests worldwide, and in fact accelerate their interests. What's your perception of this issue?
My view, Senator, is that the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 communiques, and the 6 assurances have served the nation well for the last 45 years, and there is no ambiguity for the joint force. There's just the mission clarity contained within the Taiwan Relations Act that the department will aid Taiwan's ability to defend itself from having matters that resolve the Taiwan Strait issue with force or the logic of force, and that the department will be ready to come to Taiwan's aid.
So in a sense, at the diplomatic presidential level, there is this ambiguity, but in your command, you're preparing for every potential, which includes active combat.
Yes, sir. Clarity and mission focus.
Senator Wicker raised an interesting, in fact, very important question about the Joint All-Domain Command and Control. I presume he's going to raise that again, so I will defer. At this point, again, Admiral, thank you for your service and your family's service, and I will refrain from many comments on the football game. Senator Wicker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I hope it's clear that I would have asked the very same questions the chair has asked. We're really totally united on the issues that he brought forward. Let me just make this, see if I can understand clearly, and if those listening outside the hearing room understand this clearly. We can do what we're doing to help our Ukrainian friends and still not miss a beat in managing risk in the Indo-Pacific. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. In 2 years, for the force capabilities that are relevant to deterring and the force capabilities that are relevant to prevailing in major combat or operations in the Pacific, I've not seen a single force element that has been where in the Indo-Pacific for any other theater that's contributed to deterrence in any of the other theaters.
And can we manage risk in the Middle East without harming in any way your job in the Indo-Pacific?
I believe we can, Senator. However, the expenditures of some capabilities against a global inventory will increase some of the demand for particularly precision weapons.
And so we need to give attention immediately to that inventory, do we not?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right. Now, let me then get to the Joint Task Force structure. I don't know what more we need to do on our authorization act annually to make it clear that we'd like for the department to carry out the creation of a standing permanent joint task force structure with 3-star general or 3-star admiral under the Indo-PACOM commander to focus on command and control warfighting. Now, you, as Pacific Fleet Commander, you were dual-hatted as the Joint Task Force Commander within Indo-PACOM. That's correct.
I continually qualify the Pacific Fleet headquarters as a JTF headquarters. As I utter these words, we're executing a command post exercise along with the Australia and Japan Joint Operations Command. I have not operated as the Joint Task Force Commander, but under a different command arrangement as a supported commander, a term in doctrine, and have integrated the operations and the activities of the Joint Force for deterrence.
Are you familiar with what we believe we've mandated in the NDAA?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any dedicated staff to carry out the Joint Task Force responsibilities? The chair and I think the members of this committee overwhelmingly are united that we need a 3-star billet and staff actually in the hundreds to carry this out.
Yes, sir. I augment the staff. We augment the staff with reservists and with embeds from the other services when we execute as a JTF staff. And for the U.S. Pacific Fleet, in order to achieve at scale and in time, would require the augmentation of several hundred permanent staff across all services.
It seems to me we're really not ready unless we do that. Is that correct?
We'll be readier when we do, sir.
Okay. So what more do you need from the Congress? What more do you need from the members of this committee in this regard?
Sir, I have clear guidance from the Congress, from the NDAA, and if confirmed, I pledge to work with this committee and the department with dispatch.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have a very explicit statement from the witness.
I concur.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. Senator Shaheen, please.
Thank you, and congratulations, Admiral, on your nomination. Thank you to you and your family for all of your years of service, and thank you for taking time to meet with me yesterday. I appreciated both Senators Reid and Wicker's questions about Ukraine, and as I understood, Senator Wicker asked if we can do what we need to do in the Indo-Pacific and still help Ukraine. I actually understood you to say that not only can we still do what we need to do in the Indo-Pacific, but it actually helps us with deterrence from China if we support Ukraine in their efforts against Putin. Is that an accurate assessment of what you said?
I am sure it has a direct and positive impact on deterrence in the Indo-Pacific.
Thank you. One of the things I appreciated in our conversation yesterday was our discussion about the importance of our diplomats in countries throughout the Indo-Pacific. Can you talk about why that's helpful to you as somebody who's trying to help maintain stability?
Both Chairman Reid and Ranking Member Wicker, among all, noted that the asymmetric advantage among the allies and partners is our alliances and partners. And accordingly, the chiefs of mission are the prime movers in effecting those alliances and partnerships, and not just the chief of mission, but all of the heroic Foreign Service officers and all of the people that work there at the embassy. I have close relationships and tremendous admiration for the diplomatic corps, and they are our first mover in our key asymmetric advantage.
Thank you. I agree with that. And it does send a message to those countries if we go for long periods of time without ambassadors in place, does it not? It raises concerns in the countries about how important we think they are to the United States.
It certainly doesn't demonstrate commitment.
Thank you. Our public shipyards, such as Portsmouth, the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, are expanding and modernizing facilities for U.S. domestic and AUKUS efforts. It's one of the areas where we still have a competitive advantage with our undersea warfare. And I wonder if you could talk about how important AUKUS is going to be. You mentioned the importance of our allies and partners. And how is that going to be helpful as we're thinking about deterrence? And what do we need to do to ensure that that continues to move along in an expeditious way?
AUKUS is a generational partnership that combines all of the talent of the United Kingdom, of Australia, the United States, against a key asymmetric advantage in our undersea dominance. It's absolutely critical for deterrence in the 21st century, and we must effect the improvements in the shipyard integrated optimization program to bring our public shipyards with its world-class workforce up to 21st century industrial standards so we can meet the threat at scale.
Well, thank you. I know Senator King and I both agree with that. Last night and this morning, FBI Director Wray was all over the news talking about the irregular and cyber intrusions that China is prepared to make in our infrastructure in the United States and the advantage that it would give them. One of those other areas is around the information sphere and information warfare. Can you talk about how important you think it is for us to engage in being able to respond to disinformation?
It is absolutely critical. We as an open society with freedom of speech have an inherent vulnerability to this. The PRC sees that vulnerability to information operations that is a societal strength is freedom of speech and our values. And we've got to work, we have to work very hard. And Director Wray also talked about the penetration of much of our critical infrastructure throughout the country. Also critical that we close those gaps, and we're ready to counter.
Well, thank you very much. My time has expired, but I also want to, again, commend you and everyone at INDOPACOM for all of your efforts on women, peace, and security and recognizing how important that is to stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Shaheen. Senator Fisher, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Admiral, and thank you for your service to this country and that of your family. The 24 National Defense Authorization Act extended the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, as well as the requirement for the commander of INDOPACOM to provide an independent assessment on resources for the Indo-Pacific. If confirmed, how would you use those tools to work to effectively communicate not just with Congress, but also to the American people on what investments are needed in the Indo-Pacific and why they are needed?
Senator, as the Pacific Deterrent Initiative is different in its makeup than the European Defense Initiative, Deterrence Initiative, and accordingly, the expression of those priorities goes through the prism of the integrated priorities list of each of the components. A tight connection between U.S. INDOPACOM and to ensure the coherency of the service expressions of those elements within the Pacific Deterrent Initiative is important. I submit a specific Indo-Pacific integrated priority list to the Chief of Naval Operations that is focused on the Pacific. For those elements that are not within that, in accordance with Title 10 U.S. Code Section 222 Alpha, I am required, if confirmed, to submit a 12XX report. This year it will be 1202 that explicates those unfilled requirements that do not go through the components in a tight lash-up. And so following my oath and the letter I signed and the pledge I made to Chairman Reed, I will do so with a strict focus on our military capabilities and submit that same report to the department as required.
Without presupposing the outcome of our fiscal year 25 budgetary decisions, are there capabilities, and you have alluded to the priorities that are out there, but are you looking at things like munitions, specific other weapons systems that you would prioritize based on your experience that you've had with PAC Fleet?
Yes, Senator, and if confirmed, I will meet my obligations to share those. Many are at a classified level, and I will make myself available to the members.
Okay, thank you. When we look at what's going on in North Korea, you know, last month they announced that they would no longer strive for peaceful reunification with South Korea, and it continues to advance its nuclear weapon program and develop their strike capabilities. With recent developments in mind, can you comment on how important our extended nuclear deterrence commitment is to the United States and the South Korea alliance?
Senator, absolutely critical. The Republic of Korea is the linchpin of peace, stability, security in the Pacific. We seek a denuclearized Korean peninsula. Whatever the public statements, as a military commander, I must look at the capability development and to be able to pace that, to deter that. Extended deterrence, particularly with U.S. strategic forces, is absolutely essential.
Do you assess that the security dynamic on the peninsula is changing in any way? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about what you see?
I can't speak fully to it because I'm still the Pacific Fleet Commander, and in my current role, I would support General LaCamera in a General LaCamera United States Forces Korea. But the changing dynamic is continued saber rattling, continued proliferation, a greater volume of testing and weapons demonstrations on the part of the North, and in response, South Korea has increased its intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance activities in the vicinity of the North. And so, despite the public statements, it continues to be tense.
What's your assessment on the deepening security assistance ties between Russia and North Korea?
It is concerning deeply. It is symbiotic. It closes gaps, each for the other, providing conventional weapons to Russia from North Korean industry, providing sanctions-evading materials and potentially high-end technology to North Korea. In all cases, it runs counter to the principles of peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific and globally.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. Senator Hirono, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To ensure the fitness of nominees to serve, I ask the following two initial questions of all nominees who appear before any of the committees on which I sit. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement related to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
Admiral, you noted the importance of our allies and partners as a very critical aspect of our asymmetric advantage. And this includes our compact nations partnerships. So I'd like you to acknowledge the importance of congressional action in support of our negotiated compacts with Palau, Micronesia, and the Marshall Islands.
The Compact of Free Association is absolutely critical for multiple reasons. The first is the People's Republic of China is attempting to drive a wedge through traditional partnerships and through traditional people-to-people ties across the Pacific. They employ corruption and elite capture to do so. The COFA states, on top of a moral duty as a result of years and years of partnership with the COFA states, our historical ties, our people-to-people ties. In fact, a little-known point is that young people from the COFA states enlist in the U.S. Armed Services at higher rates than U.S. citizens do. And I've had the honor of serving with Yap Islanders, Truk Islanders, and Pohnpei Islanders throughout the course of my career. And then finally, in accordance with the sovereign wishes of the COFA states, they offer tremendous potential for a theater posture that will aid the joint force and the allied force in achieving the principles of expanded maneuver in conflict in the Western Pacific.
Thank you for acknowledging the importance, and we have this year, we have the important duty to approve these compacts, and let's get it done. I know that you are aware of my focus on infrastructure. I've had discussions with you, and of course, I mentioned what happened at Red Hill. And so over the last few years in Hawaii alone, there have been water main breaks, power outages, and spills, including, of course, the catastrophic events at Red Hill, as well as necessary dry dock replacement. Although you will not be directly responsible for improving infrastructure in Hawaii, yours will be an important voice on the issue, especially as it impacts readiness. If confirmed, how do you intend to approach the infrastructure challenges in the region, including in Hawaii?
Senator, if confirmed, the first is a critical eye with worst-case thinking. And that's a critical eye to look at the critical infrastructure and have a risk management standpoint that looks instead of saying, I hope it's going to be okay, the approach to say, how can this go wrong? You mentioned the water main. When we unearthed that water main, we found that it was 75 years old. Red Hill itself was 80 years old at the time. This focus on critical infrastructure is going to require critical thinking. It's going to require integration among the components and leaders holding each other to account and holding the services to account to ensure that the foundation of the joint forces, the bases, the piers, the airfields, the refueling points are going to support combat operations and by doing so support deterrence.
You mentioned that your father was a shipyard worker, so I know that you have an appreciation of the importance of the 4 public shipyards, including Pearl Harbor, and one of the biggest issues that we're going to face is the dry dock replacement to enable us to repair and maintain our ships. So that is an infrastructure that I would like you to pay particular attention to as we go forward. I mentioned Red Hill as symptomatic of the importance of public engagement, and I'd like your commitment that you will continue to focus on how important it is to basically repair the breakdown in trust and questions that arose as a result of the handling of the Red Hill situation. So I would like your public commitment that you will continue to focus on restoring trust between the people of Hawaii and our military in Hawaii.
If confirmed, I commit myself to it, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Rono. Colonel Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral, great to see you. Thank you and your family for your exceptional service. I think you're extremely well qualified. I certainly plan to provide my strong support for your confirmation. I also appreciate what the chairman said about Admiral Aquilino and his wife, Laura. They have also undertaken exceptional service to our country. I hope when your change of command comes that Admiral Aquilino's service to America is not over. I highly doubt it will be over. Let me focus on an issue I know you're focused on now in your current billet. The PRC's focused and rapid naval buildup has highlighted our own shipbuilding deficiencies. Numerically, they now have a larger Navy, roughly 370 ships to our 291 ships. Last year, they added 30 ships to their fleet. 15 were large surface combatants, including cruisers, destroyers, and another aircraft carrier. We added 2. At the same time, the current Biden budget shrinks the Navy. It's going to be shrinking our Navy for some time. If deterrence fails and we go to war in the near term with China, we have to fight with the fleet we have today. You're very aware of that fleet's capabilities. Can you describe the impact of the PRC's naval buildup and how we need to equip the joint force to deter and defeat the PLA Navy today should conflict occur?
So the PLA Navy has been on an historic trajectory these last 25 years. And while I am confident that we would prevail in combat, it is a concerning trajectory.
Are we overmatched in the Indo-PACOM?
We are not overmatched, but I don't like the pace of the trajectory. And in answering the question on the other capabilities that can be brought to bear is we're a joint force that thinks in a multi-domain mindset. And that is the kind of formations in maritime terrain. Those are forces on land that can affect events at the maritime, that can shoot, move, communicate, and impose costs against a naval force to augment the Navy force at sea. And then further, first century capabilities, unmanned capabilities from the seabed to the heavens that can also effect.
Let me, Admiral, sorry to interrupt. I got a few more questions. I want to talk about some of those forces. That you're going to be in charge of. While testifying in front of the Congress in 1935, General Billy Mitchell, often referred to as the father of the U.S. Air Force, said this: "I believe that in the future, whoever controls," and then he said a piece of strategic territory, "this territory, this land, controls the world. It is the most strategic place on the planet. Do you know what piece of terrain Billy Mitchell was talking about?
Alaska.
Correct. Now, with regard to Alaska, you will own the forces in Alaska. That includes over 100 fifth-generation fighters, the 11th Airborne Division of the U.S. Army. Those will be under your command. I like to do just a quick geography test because sometimes even our four-star admirals and generals miss this. Which forces are closer to Japan, the joint force in Alaska or joint force in Hawaii?
Alaska.
How about which forces are closer to Korea? Forces in Hawaii or Alaska?
Alaska, Senator.
And one more, Taiwan Strait. Which forces are closer to the Taiwan Strait?
Alaska, Senator.
Thank you, Admiral. You'd be amazed how many four-star admirals and generals don't pass that simple geography test. So, very quickly, 2 summers ago, we had a joint Russia-China naval task force, 7 ships, that was off the coast of Alaska. We sent 150-foot Coast Guard cutter to intercept it. Was that appropriate? Was that a show of American deterrence?
It was a risk that the joint force took in putting force elsewhere, and it's a risk we'd rather not take.
So this summer, we had an 11-ship joint Russia-China task force, naval task force, off the coast of Alaska. We sent 4 destroyers and P-8s. I think that's a better answer. Could you commit to, if we do that again, and they'll do it again next summer with a bigger joint task force, hit them with an appropriate size response?
I will intend to do so, and will do so across the joint force, Senator.
Thank you. Final question, Admiral. I know you're very well read, very, very smart. Have you happened to read this book, This Kind of War by T.R. Fehrenbach, the classic Korean War history?
Yes, sir. My dear son gave it to me for Christmas when he was at the Naval Academy. I have it on my shelf.
Well, he beat me to it because I was going to give it to you. But every one of your Marine Corps and Army senior officers will have read it. The lesson is very simple in it. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. I give it to everybody who's up for senior positions, particularly civilians who don't know a lot about readiness in this administration. But the lesson is this: 1945, we had the most fearsome, lethal military probably in the history of the world. 5 years later, in 1950, our military couldn't stop a third world peasant army as it invaded South Korea, literally, and thousands of young Americans died in the summer of 1950 because we had weak civilian and weak uniformed military leadership. So I would just commend you to read this. Compliments to your son for getting it to you before I did, but it's a really important book. And I worry as we're shrinking the Army, shrinking the Navy, shrinking the Marine Corps at one of the most dangerous periods we've seen since World War II. Not enough members of the Pentagon know what's in this, have read history. We can't repeat history. We can't have another Task Force Smith. And appreciate you taking a look at this book.
I'll reread, and he stole it back, so I'll accept it if you give it to me.
I will give it to you. Thank you.
Now that we've settled that, Senator Rosen, please.
Well, thank you, Chairman Reed, for holding this hearing. And Admiral, I want to thank you for your service to our nation. Congratulations on your nomination. We had such a great visit last week talking about computing and cybersecurity, my civilian cyber reserve pilot program. I look forward to working with you on all of that. But I really want to focus now for a moment on space and cyber resilience. So in our meeting last week, you said the first battle in future conflict is likely to be fought in the cyber and space domains. And so could you elaborate on what steps you would take, if confirmed, to further prepare our forces for the challenges in these domains, and how you would ensure that our capabilities are not just current, but also adaptable to the rapidly evolving nature of cyber and space warfare? And I don't know how I follow up. I don't have a book to give you. Computer program, perhaps.
Senator, in saying that the first battle will be space and cyber, it's because in the 21st century, the next advantage is who can see, decide, and act faster. And increasingly, we're dependent on our cyber networks and in our constellations to be able to see, understand, make sense of, and to act. And accordingly, we must build the resiliency of our constellation of sensors on orbit, as well as our constellation of sensors from the seabed to the Kármán line. It must be resilient. There must be redundant. It must include the elements of graceful degradation so that when one thing is out, it's just a small loss in capability, but it still provides enough. And we've got to work tirelessly to close those gaps. Thank you.
Well, and I want to build on that resiliency, particularly in Taiwan. So this last year's NDAA includes the Taiwan Cybersecurity Resiliency Act, bipartisan legislation that I introduced alongside with Senator Rounds to expand military cybersecurity with Taiwan to help them counter these cyber attacks from China, building in that resiliency, redundancy, all of those things. So if confirmed, what other allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific region would you prioritize for our cyber collaboration?
Japan, Republic of Korea, Australia, of course, and there's already tight partnerships among them all, but we can never be satisfied. I work really with every state that is an ally and partner, and that's a deep list. Now, that's the key advantage. But all allies and partners that are willing to work with us are key focus of that effort.
So creating this broad net of cyber resiliency, really important. And again, you work with everyone. So you're a coalition builder, and this is really important, not just in this region, but every region. And of course, the Houthis' recent attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea, it highlights how less sophisticated adversaries can disrupt international commerce and challenge the freedom of our navigation. And I'm increasingly concerned about the capabilities, of course, as you are and everyone's been talking about, sophisticated adversaries, China, for example, to take similar aggressive actions like they're doing in the Red Sea in the Indo-Pacific. So how does Indo-PACOM, how would you plan to collaborate with allies and partners in the region to share the responsibilities and resources so there is freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific? We see the challenges we have now.
Coalition building, and one of the key efforts within this is currently under Admiral Aquilino is the Indo-PACOM Mission Network that is going to create secure layers of intel sharing where it's just not U.S. sharing with allies and partners, but it is all of the allies and partners sharing to build a common picture of malign activity at sea, which will give all of the allies and partners the ability to act quickly and to counter the threats.
Like you said, intelligence, cybersecurity, this is key for our maritime defense. So could you talk a little bit in my last few seconds about how increased joint training programs could really benefit our mutual defense capabilities and this interoperability and collaboration that it supports?
Our joint training programs, and I'd like to especially acknowledge our state partnership programs in being absolutely critical in raising the capability, in bringing skill sets to each other and learning from each other, as well as building the people-to-people ties that will help speed the coalition along when we reach that unforgiving hour when we need it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Rosen. Senator Scott, please.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Admiral, thanks for being here. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment. Thanks. We had a great conversation the other day. So the world's pretty dangerous. We weren't able to deter Russia in Ukraine. We walked out of Afghanistan. Now we got the Houthis shooting at us. We've lost 2 SEALs, 3 servicemen and women. We watched what Hamas did. We watch how much money Iran has. We look at what Senator Sullivan said, the size of the Chinese military versus what we're doing, the trajectory. So if you're Xi Jinping, what are you thinking?
Well, first, Senator, I'll share with you to acknowledge the service and sacrifice of our 5 fallen heroes along with their family. I think, I can't directly express Xi Jinping's attitude, but I do see the actions of the People's Liberation Army. And I see a undaunted effort to extend its aggression as a revanchist, revisionist, and expansionist state to reset the borders based on the logic of their military power. And I think we are in a global environment that has increasingly disordered, increasingly chaotic. The logic of rules is being replaced with the logic of power, and we must, as a nation, counter that logic with comprehensive national power across all levers of statecraft.
So we have a lot of servicemen and women stationed in the Indo-Pacific. We're spending a lot of money in the Indo-Pacific. So if you're talking to just an average American that's writing the check, what would you tell them? Why?
First, 60% of the world population, 60% of the world's economy, and 7 of the world's 10 largest militaries is in the Indo-Pacific. And if that disorder extends to aggression in the Indo-Pacific, we risk greater conflict, we risk proliferation that makes the world a more dangerous place. And so success in aggression anywhere in the Western Pacific has a direct effect on the security of the United States. The integration of the economies, particularly in semiconductors, according to many think tanks, could result in up to a double-digit contraction in GDP, greatly affecting people's lives and their well-being. And then finally, democracy and our values, which is the ties that connect. For all of those reasons, it is in America's direct physical interest to deter conflict by being ready to fight and to win.
How important is Taiwan?
Critical for the reasons that I spoke to earlier, even more so in the case of the economy.
So if China continues to build their economy and eventually, they have about 3 times the number of people, if they continue to build their economy and they build an economy bigger than ours, is that a threat to the United States?
One would hope not. I don't think we're competing on who has the bigger economy. We're competing on values. And for me, what I'm looking at is the military instrument. And in many ways, the military instrument is directly related to the economy. And what I see is generational and concerning in terms of the activity and the buildup of the PRC.
We talked about this a little bit last week, the recapitalization of the C-130s. I think the Air Force has done about 50%. National Guard has done about 35%. Marines are 100, but the Navy's at 0. Does that concern you?
Yes, sir. Our logistics enterprise is built on the principles of efficiency over a time when we were focused on regional conflicts. Now, under the contestation that we see from actors, we've got to build a logistics enterprise that's based on the principles of effectiveness under fire.
Can you tell me the importance of having a defense alliance with the Philippines?
It is one of our oldest alliances. It's based on close people-to-people ties. It is key geography within the Western Pacific. And our continued commitment to our defense alliance with the Philippines has the same effect as our alliances and our security guarantees throughout the Western Pacific. But the people-to-people ties are very important to us, the values ties are important to us, and the geography.
Thank you, Admiral.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Kane, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Admiral Paparo, congratulations. I enjoyed our visit the other day. The chairman's opening comments referred to a CCP strategy drawn from Chinese military tradition of to win without fighting, and he referred to the danger of losing without fighting. I'm also worried about the danger of losing while fighting. I think our fighting force is second to none, and yet you can lose while fighting if you fight the wrong war, and if you allow wrong wars to direct resources and attention away from the most critical. I'm very, very concerned about the escalation in the Middle East right now. I think we need to provide support for allies, certainly. I think alliances are strong. But the U.S. being involved in an escalating war without a congressional dialogue before the American public about whether that would be wise is really troubling me. The U.S. is protecting global shipping through the Red Sea. Only the U.K. is joining with the U.S. in our military efforts against the Houthis. The transit of ships through the Red Sea is global. There aren't a lot of U.S. flagged ships that go through the Red Sea. And so protecting U.S. ships, U.S. flagged ships, U.S. military assets, of course, is something we should do. But when we take on the global burden of protecting others and they are not participating in it, that's the kind of thing that diverts attention and resources away from what I believe our most significant challenges should be, that should be directing our efforts going forward. Let me move now to some questions. Your next position involves commanding personnel from multiple services to maintain the free and open Indo-Pacific. You've just commanded the naval component of Indo-PACOM, so brag about the service members, DoD civilians, and their families and the value that they bring to the Indo-Pacific region.
For all members of the committee, I would welcome you to join us on a ship visit and to see what you can see in the young people's eyes that stare back at you and the commitment. And at Fleet and Family Service Centers and Child Development Centers, just to see the dedication of our service members and the dedication of their families and what they do within their families in order to bring their licensure to places and to find meaningful employment for working families. But for all the discussions about the joint force, that your brain chemistry is instantly transformed when you see the intellect, the dedication, the esprit de corps, the cohesiveness of the joint force. And so it's just such, it's great. It's just great to get out there and to visit with the fleet, to hear their concerns. And always their concerns are not, can I have this or can I have that? But it is, how can we do our job better? It's absolutely inspiring.
Thank you, Admiral. Senator Shaheen asked you questions about AUKUS. I'm very focused on that as well. A lot of the work on Pillar 1 with respect to submarines will happen in Virginia. And she already asked you a little bit about that. Let me ask about Pillar 2. A lot of the discussion has been about prepping for the Pillar 1 submarine industrial base and working with Australia on first Virginia-class subs, but then their development of their own industrial capacity to produce nuclear submarines. Talk about the kind of more open-ended but equally exciting Pillar 2 capabilities in this AUKUS framework.
Very exciting. Cyber, unmanned, seabed warfare among them. Unmanned capabilities, AI, all of these have important key leverage-making effects on the ability of the joint and the allied force to fight. Just in November, I was in Sydney Harbor, where U.S. Pacific Fleet conducted Integrated Battle Problem 23.1, where sailors, Marines, airmen, soldiers from the United Kingdom, from Australia, and from Indo-PACOM all assembled to begin the real work of sharing technology, of sharing information, of combining the talent to achieve those key 21st century advantages that will augment the asymmetric advantage of our submarine forces. Exciting, every bit as critical as Pillar 1.
Let me ask one last question. You've talked about alliances, AUKUS, the Quad. Senator Scott asked you about the improving U.S.-Philippines mill-to-mill relationship. What's the reaction in the Indo-Pacific region to the U.S.-Japan Republic of Korea summit that was held in 2023 at Camp David?
I think that, first, I applaud the courage of the leaders in the Pacific who came to that accord, and we have implemented it directly now in advance of North Korean threats, frequently being postured in position to be able to be ready to defend if instead of a test, it's an attack. We're seeing the fruits of it at the operational level already every day. It's historic and it's inspiring.
Thank you very much. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Kane. I will recognize Senator Tuberville, but I will also ask Senator King to preside as I go to the Banking Committee. Thank you, Admiral. Senator Tuberville, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Admiral, for being here. Congratulations. Good visit yesterday. 375,000 military and civilian personnel. That's a huge, huge undertaking. We're glad you're willing to take that on. We talked about the KC-46. We have I think about 10 or 12 135s in my state of Birmingham. Looking forward to the KC-46. Given with the issues and delays with delivering the 46, what concerns do you have about the availability and the quality of these aircraft?
No concerns about the quality. I'm not yet in the duty position, but for the airmen who maintain them, I have perfect faith that no aircraft is going to fly until it's ready to fly. I do have concerns, if confirmed, about the ability of the Joint Force to refuel what will be a dynamic force operating in the air from bases on land and at sea. And we've got to have a consistent critical eye. And if confirmed, I'll work with you and with the members of the committee to be clear about the requirements are and we can close those gaps.
Do you think the 46 has the range that we're going to need in the Indo-Pacific?
With all refueling aircraft, tankers can bucket brigade themselves. I'm not savvy on the precise range, and it's always a choice between how much gas it takes to get to the point where you're refueling and how much give there is at that point. But I am concerned about the Joint Forces' ability to refuel a dynamic force operating in the air.
Yeah, we'll switch gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about the Philippines. What's your biggest concerns at the moment there? What do we need to do more or less for the Philippines?
Philippines are under intense pressure with aggression against their lawful sovereign rights in their EEZ. And because the Philippines are a sovereign partner, our charge is to be ready to come to their aid as they desire, as they navigate that problem along with us, for them to know that we have their back at all times, and we've got capability that is ready to assist them in their defense of their lawful claims. And they're not claims, they're rights, and they are settled in law.
How does the U.S.-Vietnam Security Corporation, regarding what's happened in the South China Sea, how has that changed in your eyes?
We applaud the essential double elevation to strategic comprehensive partnership with Vietnam. The main areas for our cooperation presently right now are in the matter of medical and unexploded ordnance removal and medical training. We stand ready to partner with them more deeply as they, and we're ready to partner with Vietnam as deeply as they want.
I remember asking Admiral Aquilino when he took over, getting ready to take over, what his number one want and need was for the Indo-Pacific, and he said an Aegis system at Guam. Do you have any thoughts?
A multi-layered, effective, capable, integrated air and missile defense system from the surface of the sea to the heavens to defend the 170,000 Americans in Guam, the American homeland. It would be my number one priority if confirmed.
You know, being the PAC commander, what was your thoughts? And when did you first find out about the balloon that came from China, I guess about a year ago?
Represents aggression. It was brazen. It was collecting information to give the PRC an advantage. It violated the sovereignty of the United States. It was deeply concerning.
When did you first find out about, where was it at? Where was it located when you got the call? Hey, we've got a balloon flying over.
I was the Pacific Fleet Commander and accordingly was not in the air defense business. And it was over the continental United States when it came to light, and that was a different area of responsibility.
So it was over the United States when you found out, not in the Pacific.
I did not have a close view of the balloon's trajectory.
Okay. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you.
On behalf of the chairman, Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Admiral, good to see you again. My brother, Scott, and your training command classmates sends his regards. Admiral, being the only U.S. Merchant Marine Academy graduate in the Congress, I pay close attention to our maritime strength. China is the world's largest shipbuilder and controls most of the merchant ships in the world with over 5,500 vessels. In the United States, flying under the American flag, we have about 80 ocean-going merchant ships. And I'm concerned about the size and the capacity of our U.S. merchant fleet and how this is a risk to our national security. Admiral, as you know, an insufficient commercial maritime capacity impacts peacetime trade and supply chains. But the more important part of this is it will hamper our ability to supply our own troops in a conflict. And this isn't a capability that we can just turn on overnight with a switch. I mean, we need investments now to be ready for tomorrow. So, Admiral, how do you assess the challenge of China's numerical advantage in a conflict in the Indo-Pacific?
Senator, I believe that the current size and scope of the U.S. merchant fleet is a vulnerability. As discussed earlier, I believe that we have a force that's sized for efficiency, but has not been examined from the standpoint of effectiveness under fire.
And does that affect how you plan for operations today, and how you project power across the Pacific Ocean?
It does, in fact, and it is a limitation for how forward we could put combat capability and sustain combat capability that was in maritime terrain.
And as the future Indo-PACOM commander, how do you plan to address this maritime capacity issue?
In close partnership with my fellow COCOM, if confirmed, U.S. Transportation Command, identify those shortfalls along with through the integrated priority lists of our components, not just sea lift and airlift, and then as necessary, communicate as required by law.
So in recent years, Congress has focused on rebuilding domestic industries like critical minerals, microelectronics, manufacturing of semiconductor chips. It's been a big focus of the Congress, and we've made some great progress there. We've got more to do, and this certainly supports our national security needs, but also our domestic economic security. Would you agree that there could be national security benefits to a similar kind of focus on the maritime industry?
I would strongly agree.
Thank you, Admiral. And Admiral, as you know, logistics will be, it's going to be critical to, any future conflict. And what else besides, a focus like we're doing with microelectronics, what else do you think we could do to be addressing this strategic vulnerability now with the force we currently have today?
I think there are a number of initiatives, such as the Department of Defense's Replicator initiative, that seeks to gain scale with innovative practices and by closing on design and invoking small business and increasing the defense industrial base. I think another key point is to understand the opacity of the financial community and the extent to which investments in the PRC through their civil-military fusion directly could confer to weapons building that could affect and could harm Americans on the battlefield.
Well, Admiral, thank you, and I look forward to working with you on trying to solve this problem. It'll, clearly, if we can make some progress here, it'll be in furtherance of, stronger, operations in the Pacific and the ability to sustain if we ever do, wind up in a conflict. Thank you.
On behalf of the chairman, Senator Cotton.
Admiral, congratulations on your nomination and thanks for your service. There was a report in Bloomberg last month leaked from an intelligence assessment saying that Xi Jinping had purged numerous of his military commanders, especially in his rocket forces, for corruption. It further said that American officials had concluded that Xi was so doubtful about the capabilities of the PLA to execute an operation against Taiwan, given this corruption, that now that operation was less likely to happen. Without commenting on the veracity of the intelligence report that was leaked, can you say, does that corruption, which I think everyone would accept happens in the PLA and in China writ large, influence your thinking about what you need to deter Chinese aggression towards Taiwan?
It does not, sir, and it must not.
Thank you.
I've got to adjust to the capability that we see. I see more activity further afield, greater force assembling in objective areas, a shrinking of strategic and operational warnings, and I must be focused on capability instead of intentions, if confirmed.
I think that's very important. I think part of our role when we read intelligence reports, whether we read them in the intelligence reports or in the media, is to always express some healthy skepticism. As Churchill said about civil-military relations, it is always right to probe. I think that's especially true whenever the conclusions in intelligence reports are comforting or reassuring of what we would like to believe, and maybe most true when those comforting, reassuring conclusions are then leaked to the media. You mentioned capabilities. We've spoken in the past about the very challenging strategic and tactical situation you would encounter in a fight in the Pacific, ranging from logistics to intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. What U.S. capabilities gaps currently exist in your theater, and what capabilities will you prioritize most highly?
The raise in posture that I spoke of with the PRC increasingly requires persistent stare. ISR is inherently, due to the ephemera of the capability, blinking. The closer we can come to a persistent stare from the seabed to the surface of the sea, distributed throughout geography, in the air and in the constellation, all of it, you must sum to a persistent stare of PRC forces in response to this shrinking strategic, operational, and tactical warning.
And how about countering their ability to do so?
It is counter what's called C5ISR, command, control, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeting. Behind Homeland Defense is the #1 priority for U.S. Indo-PACOM. It has been the #1 priority that I've communicated to the Chief of Naval Operations in my integrated priority list. And if confirmed, it is the enabling capability to counter that will bring victory to the Allies.
Thank you, Admiral.
On behalf of the chairman, Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And congratulations, Admiral Paparo, on your nomination. So if confirmed, you will oversee one of the most dangerous national security threats, North Korea. Reports indicate that North Korea has shifted to a more aggressive posture against American troops and allies in the region. And in just the last few months, the country has fired off hundreds of missiles as it has increased its military capabilities. North Korea is one of the most heavily sanctioned countries in the world. So one question is, where the heck are they getting the money to test these new weapons? This is not free. And one answer is cryptocurrency. North Korea uses cryptocurrency both to evade sanctions and to raise revenues. From cyber hacks against banks to strikes on crypto exchanges to ransomware attacks against American businesses and hospitals, North Korea has been using crypto to generate revenue. Over the past 5 years, it has stolen at least $3.3 billion worth of crypto, and those dollars matter. Experts estimate that half its missile program is paid for through crypto crime. So, Admiral Paparo, is North Korea's reliance on cryptocurrency to evade sanctions and fund its illegal nuclear and missile programs a threat to our national security and the security of our allies in the Indo-Pacific?
Yes, Senator, most certainly.
All righty. You are not the only one to recognize this threat. Your predecessors have been ringing the alarm for years. Former Indo-PACOM Commander Admiral Davidson, who was appointed by President Trump, warned this committee in 2021 that North Korea's crypto crime allows it to, quote, raise illicit revenue to support its weapons development program. To underscore the sheer scale of North Korea's reliance on crypto, consider that nearly a third of all crypto stolen last year was stolen by North Korea, and that its hacks are on average 10 times more lucrative than those linked to other actors. No one needs crypto more than Kim Jong-un. North Korea's success in evading sanctions and funding its weapons program with crypto also undermines our security elsewhere. North Korea is selling missiles and ammunition to Russia, helping Russia evade sanctions so that it can continue its war against Ukraine. So let me ask you, Admiral Paparo, would cutting off North Korea's access to crypto and making it harder for other countries to evade sanctions strengthen our global security?
Yes, Senator, directly.
Would you like to say more about that?
Cryptocurrency inherently, with its opaqueness, is a key enabler worldwide for proliferation, for terror, for illicit trafficking, including illicit trafficking in drugs, while blockchain methodologies have promise for assurance of financial transactions. This particular usage of crypto, which is backed by nothing but emotion, directly aids illicit trafficking, terror, crime, human trafficking, and proliferation of weapons, and makes the world less secure.
Well, that's pretty definitive, Admiral. Can I just ask you, what is it that you think makes crypto so attractive to countries like North Korea and illicit arms dealers?
People can make money outside the eyes of law, and it provides a moral hazard whereby people can do bad things without fear of punishment because it's opaque.
All right, so you hit it right on the head, outside the eyes of the law. In November, Treasury asked Congress to give it more tools to crack down on crypto crime and money laundering. 20 senators, Democrats and Republicans, have put together a bill that delivers exactly what Treasury called for. It's not about who should regulate crypto to protect investors. It's about dealing with the most urgent crypto problem in front of us, ensuring that countries like North Korea and terrorists, drug traffickers, and other criminals can't use crypto to undermine America's security. I'm looking forward to working on that bill with my colleagues and looking forward to working with you, Admiral. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Warren. Senator King, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral, your testimony today has been extremely important, informative and important. And one of the aspects that was so important were your initial answers to the questions from the chair and the vice chair in terms of the undermining of our deterrence in terms of the People's Republic of China by unilaterally abandoning Ukraine. Just to confirm, you view our leaving Ukraine to be a significant diminution of the deterrent that we're presenting to China. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that is very important. Now, one other aspect of that is the effect of leaving Ukraine unilaterally on our allies. How would Japan and South Korea react to that action?
All of our allies and partners are under pressure. They're under coercion from from actors such as the People's Republic of China. And frequently, it's not just coercion in the military sphere, but across all levers of statecraft. And they're staying with the alliance. They're enjoining their national power to the United States is directly related to their confidence in U.S. partnership when it is so committed. And accordingly, our U.S. security partnerships worldwide have a direct impact on the cohesion of our alliances and partnerships. And any effect on that imposes costs on the quality of deterrence, as our allies and partnerships have our greatest leverage in deterrent.
The important deterrence has probably been used, I've been counting, I think we're up to about 25 times in this hearing. Deterrence is based upon two things, capacity and will. We can usually we talk about weapons, but Ukraine is all about will. We can supply the capacity. The question is will, and as you point out, it would undermine the deterrence not only of the actions of China, perhaps toward Taiwan. It would certainly change Xi's calculus. Will the Americans actually be there? Which would be an important part of his consideration, but also undermine, as you say, the confidence of our allies. Short question. We've talked about the South China Sea. We've talked about disputes with China. Would it be in the national interest for this body to ratify the Law of the Sea Treaty?
Yes, sir.
You're about the 20th flag officer who's answered that question in exactly that way. I hope the Senate will start to listen to our people that are on the front lines that understand how important that would be. One of the things that concerns me most urgently about the relationship with China and the South China Sea is the danger of miscalculation, the danger of mistake, the danger of some misunderstanding that would lead to an escalating conflict. Do you feel that we have sufficient military-to-military communications with the People's Republic of China in order to deconflict a potential situation that should not be escalated but could be?
Senator, as yet, I've had no contact mill-to-mill as the U.S. Pacific Fleet Commander, and my boss and my mentor, Admiral Aquilino, has had limited and seeks more for the very reasons you talked about.
Do you agree that that's a danger to not have those kinds of communication links?
We're left with their activity, with the guidance that we give the force and their public statement, and accordingly, we must divine their intentions and act accordingly. With better information, we have lower risk of miscalculation.
I would rather have us understand directly from communication their intentions rather than trying to read the tea leaves or divine it, as you suggest. Finally, the nature of war. And the nature of war is changing fundamentally. Hypersonics, directed energy, cyber. Clearly, the next conflict will begin with cyber. Are you satisfied that the Navy and the joint force in the Pacific is at a place where it needs to be in order to fight the next war rather than based upon strategies and tactics from the last war?
Senator, I'm never satisfied with our readiness.
Good.
I'm confident, but I'm paranoid, and we're working constantly. And if and when additional resources are required to be more resilient in that first battlefield, you'll know it from me.
I hope you'll really press on that, because all of the aircraft carriers in the world aren't going to work if GPS is gone, if there's no way to navigate, if they're targeted by hypersonics. So this is, I think, one of the most important areas is to press the entire military establishment on electronic warfare, hypersonics, directed energy, and I appreciate your answers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator King. Senator Schmidt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you, Admiral, and really appreciated our time in my office. We had a chance to visit. As I mentioned in the office, as we consider your nomination, the threat posed by communist China grows every single day. In my view, I think you share that assessment. This and other challenges around the world put the Navy at an inflection point, and the tone set by the next commander of the U.S. Indo-PACOM will prove critical in strengthening our relationships with important partners in the region so we can collectively deter the rise of China. Your potential future actions as commander of Indo-PACOM will be watched and judged by the world, as you know. We trust you understand the weight of the task that you're taking on, and if confirmed, must demonstrate the United States' resolve in the region by ensuring peace through strength. I have three questions, so limited time we have here, but the first is, just a few short years ago, Admiral Davidson was in front of Congress and made an alarming assessment that China would have the necessary.
Yes, indeed, it's your boy Dabrand News with that nighttime edition of that up-to-date broadcast. I'm tired. I'm shutting it down. I see y'all on the AM. It's your boy, Ghost.